In November 2001, a band of brothers set out to find the truth. Today, hunted down by the authorities, committee members, and some wannabes. If you have an opinion, a topic, but not a bounty bar, if no one else listens, and if you can tune into Mashal Radio, maybe you can join in the Let's Talk show. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening and welcome. You're listening to Mashal Radio 87.7 FM, broadcasting through the glorious month of Ramzan. Crystal clear and on the net. Available to listen to 24 hours a day, bringing you the Begum of Islam. And I want to thank all the previous shows that we've had today and yesterday. I'd like to thank Brother Ali and the team who launched charity appeal for our brothers, sisters, our mums, our daughters and our loved ones in Pakistan, part of the Muslim Ummah, who are facing the terrible atrocities of the floods. The floods are an absolute huge catastrophe in Pakistan. Some say affecting 20 million people. It may take the country up to 5 years to recover. The estimated money required is between 5 and 15 billion pounds. The amount that's been pledged so far is 300 million. So less than a quarter of the money that has been given what's being pledged and given is what you need. Why am I saying this? Because it is the glorious month of Ramzan. During this month, every £1 that you give is the equivalent of £70. So if you're thinking, oh, I ain't quite got it, now's the time for you to quite get it. I just think, what is Eid going to be like for you, and what is it going to be like for your Muslim brothers? Some people are having the attitude, listen, it's not really affecting my family back home yet. It's not affecting my uncles. It's not affecting my cousins. I'm just going to wait, because if it affects them, then I'm going to do something about it. It's affecting you now. If you said the kalma, you're part of the Islamic Ummah. If you're part of the Islamic Ummah, then you should be bothered about it. No matter what you do, even if it's just £1. It's £1 in the right direction. The country needs your help. The country is not going to be able to help itself. You really, really should go out of your way and donate. I know, and I've spoken to some, mashallah, some very, very kind-hearted and big-hearted brothers. A good example is 2 weeks ago, in fact this time last week, beg your pardon, Sheridan Suite, Manchester. 6 days previously to that, we had a task of selling tables at £500 and £1,000 each, and we had 100 tables to sell in less than 6 days. We sold all the tables, and on the night we held charity. We held raffles, we held auctions, and in the end, in one day, we raised £150,000. Now, that's not me bigging myself up. That's the generosity of the people of Manchester. And I know that deep down, everybody's got good inside them, and I really would help them, and I really would request for them to send some money. If you think to yourself, I'll do it later on, tomorrow never comes. So I've started the show by pledging support to charity. Some people should give that charity anywhere they can, whether it's the shoebox appeal, whether it's directly to the radio station and the Ray of Hope charity. The Ray of Hope charity is exactly that. It's hope to the people who have no hope. Brother Mehboob Kakarvi is actually in Pakistan, and he said, and it's in black and white, we are not taking an admin fee. We are not taking anything out of this money. The reason why they're not doing it is because they know how vital that money is. Now, I'm always horrified, and I'm always weary, and I'm always somebody who looks at these charities and think, well, you know what? Am I sure that the money I'm giving to them is landing? Because I have heard of charities where you give 100 quid and £18 hits the bottom. Where's the rest of it gone? Somebody's at it. Now here, what we're saying is if you give the money to the Ray of Hope, 100 quid of it goes to charity. It all hits the floor. Another thing also is, because you're giving during the month of Ramzan, the radio station has also offered something in return. Now what we're offering is a Hajj package. That includes food, accommodation, visas, the full entire package, including your food, including your drinks, ziyarat, and it's at a 5-star accommodation. The prize is worth £3,300. One lucky person can go, and they can say I'm going for a week, they can say I'm going for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But the draw will be made on 10th of September. So if you want to send some money to the Ray of Hope, the telephone number is 07599 532 076. 07599 532 076. Now yesterday we had a very, very busy show. I used our sponsors a little bit later on, but I want to pay a bit catch up. I want to thank Delta Communications. Delta Communications are proud sponsors, and we are proud that they are sponsoring the Let's Talk show. Delta Communications specialise in mobile phone repairs, laptop repairs, computer repairs and console repairs. All mobile phone accessories available. Western Union money transfer service. Virgin Media contracts available. All under one roof. Delta Communications, 316 Lees Road, Oldham, 627-5577. Jazakallah, thanks to Delta Communications. I want to also thank brother Munna Mobile, as he's known as, from the Tiffin Box. Very, very tasty food. He said to me, look, Brother Zaid, let me know what you think. I think it was a special one that he does, what actually has half rice. It has keema on it and chips with a bit of a sauce. It's actually spot on, and the doner he makes isn't just a normal doner. It's cut into little bits with a particular secret sauce. You know, he won't give this sauce out, and Jazakallah, very, very tasty, very, very nice. But if you want to go and have a nice scran, then try the Tiffin Box, who are also sponsors of Mashal Radio. So Jazakallah, I hope you know you have barakat in your food. Keep it halal, keep it real, and keep it going. Now, also, while we're on the subject of what you should be doing, and yesterday, we were, as we expected, inundated, flooded, completely absorbed by the number of messages that we were getting. We must have answered over 200-300 bits of information. Some people send us one text. We had 6 questions inside it. And alhamdulillah, thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and thanks to the knowledge that was bestowed on Sheikh Salim Giza, he didn't dodge any of the questions. We had people sending us questions after the show. And today, the topic that we were going to use, before we go on to today's topic, a lot of these answers were available in the Revival. Now, if you've had a look at the Revival magazine this time round for Ramzan, it's a little bit special because of a pull-out section inside it. And that's got all you need to know about some key things about namaz, for example. Now, for those people who listen to our show and think it's useful, our show is nothing in comparison to our magazine. Our magazine is 50 times more useful than our show. And the reason why is I might be talking a little bit too quick and you don't know what I'm talking about. The magazine can slow it down. You can take it. You've got it in black and white. You can read it. You can actually not worry about ringing in and think, oh, do I sound okay on the phone? Am I going to get cut off? Well, alhamdulillah, we've not cut anybody off this year. What I can say to you is the magazine is an excellent reference point. It's designed to make sure that when you brothers, sisters are out there, you've got understanding of what your deen is all about. It also has latest information on it. So at the moment, the title is Defending the Deen. So, people get very uppity about if something's said. So the Revival magazine has a website, www.therevival.co.uk, and the editor of the Revival usually is in the studio, even though he's tried to escape once, and I thought, well, I might have escaped, but the editor of the Revival is actually the person really behind the Let's Talk show, because he arranges all the guests. He also arranges the questions. Believe it or not, we do have some questions that we've arranged. We don't just dream them up. And the editor of the Revival is actually with us every night. And that's Brother Sajid Iqbal. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Sajid.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, bro?
Alhamdulillah. I was just saying about the Revival, this issue. Are there any particular things that you want to highlight on it?
Well, to be honest with you, this issue, what we tried to do with the Revival is make it slightly different in the sense of the issue that we decided to tackle were a bit different than your boyfriend, your girlfriend, and issues of marriage. We thought let's go a bit deeper. So defending the deen, if Islam is insulted, that was our main theme. And I know we had high caliber scholars like Sheikh Muhammad al-Yaqubi and Sheikh Ibrahim who will be in the studio today, and from Asghar Bukhari as well from London. It
looks like we've got a call. Assalamu alaikum, you're on Let's Talk.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
I'd like to read them out.
Little girl, you're actually on the wrong show. This is the Let's Talk show, and it's not really an art show. So do you want to, you ring tomorrow, inshallah, and join in some of the other shows? Thanks very much. Assalamu alaikum. I know that little sister there, may Allah be pleased with that, rang in for a Naat. I'm sorry to disappoint the little girl, but we aren't the Naat show. And we are a very, very opinionated talk show. And some of our topics are for adults, so I just would like to remind you that. Thanks to the little girl. Have a ring tomorrow. I'm sure they'll put a Naat on you. And see if you can catch Brother Evil Umar out as well, when he does his no, yes, yes, no game. Or is the yes, no game. Assalamu alaikum, you're on Let's Talk. Hello? 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 Sorry, I think we've dropped that call, so I'm not sure what happened there.
Just before we take any calls, I think let's just
explain what we're going to be doing tonight.
Yeah, what I was saying before was with the Revival magazine, apart from defending the deen, we have got important issues like EDL. They were here, was it in Bradford just recently, and the issue of Gaza, it's an ongoing issue that, unites the Muslim Ummah. And obviously we've got an exclusive interview with Sheikh Ibrahim and who is one of the high caliber scholars in the country today. And other bits and if you haven't got the magazine by now, you can come to the studio at 10 Ross Street and you can get it from there. You can get it from Union Street, as Brother Zahid was talking about, the Tiffin box. You can get the Revival magazine from there as well, okay? Or you can go to the website, therevival.co.uk. If you still can't get it at all, then if you send us a text on the usual text message or email us, editor@therevival.co.uk, we'll get a magazine sent out to you.
Jazakallah, thanks for that, Brother Sajid. Now, yesterday and earlier in week 1 when we did the show, we actually had quite a lot of people asking us about particular questions, as no surprise. Like yesterday, for example, we had loads and loads of people asking us about, am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to do that? And we give them, well, should we say, Sheikh Salim Riza give them the Islamic perspective of that, based on the madhab that Sheikh had. The only time I've ever interrupted this Sheikh in 4 or 5 years was when a question was asked about a particular route. For example, if somebody says, what is the best madhab? Is it the Brelvis? Is it the Wahhabis and all this? The thing about that is, the reason why I don't ask the scholars to go through that is because if the scholar turned around and said something that he was promoting one over the other, it could be construed, or somebody could turn around and think we're actually favoriting anybody. But there is actually an answer to this, and the answer is they're all on the same path. Don't let it make you an excuse by saying, well, I'm not involved in this deen business. I'm not involved in praying my salah. I'm also not involved in this because these Maulvis can't get their act together. That's up to them. Your act is to follow your deen. It's pretty straightforward. If you don't know, you can easily find out. Stick to your namazis. Let's try that one for a kick-off. Last night, a friend of mine was listening to our show. Now, he spoke to a scholar in America today about one of the questions. And that was the question where many people are saying, look, we want to get married, but our parents are not listening to us. And our parents are not listening to us. Our mum's not listening to us. My dad kicks off and all this. He asked this, and I'm not going to confirm which scholar it was, because the brothers told me, and I didn't get to say to him, was it by the internet, was it by the telephone? But he claims to have spoken to a very eminent scholar in America, and he asked this question, and the reply he got back was, when your parents refuse, when your brother doesn't help you, when all these doesn't help you, it's because you haven't answered. You've not got yourself ready to ask the question. So the question is, so then, what do you mean by getting yourself ready? He said, well, before you're going to turn around and make a decision that your family are going to find offensive, or some people say, Brother Sajid, if I say that, my mum's going to disown me. If I'm Pakistani and I want to marry a Bengali girl, or if I'm a Bengali girl and I want to marry a Pakistani, they're going to have nothing to do with it. Before all of that happens, a change needs to happen. And he said there's a very, very simple solution to it. Pray your salah. He said, just do that. He said, 1 month prior to you asking the question, start reading your 5 times prayer. They will notice that change. If they refuse you, say, well, look, I read namaz and I'm trying to better myself. I'm not using it as a bargaining tool, but there's change in me. Anybody cannot refuse the power of salah. So I'm not saying that they'll automatically cave in and say to you, but they'll say, hang on a minute, they've got to be serious because they've taken the deen serious. So it is actually a step forward. So tonight's show, Brother Sajid, how would you introduce it? Let me start off with, it's a very, very important topic.
How did you guess that? It is actually. I think we have, inshallah, Sheikh Ibrahim, OCF, in the studio today. He's going to be now, he'll be in the next few minutes. And first we thought, you know what, we'll do a question answer, because there's a massive demand for question answers, because we didn't go through all the questions yesterday. But then we thought, let's take it, a different angle to this, and that is that in every show that we do, it's always the same 7 or 8 issues that come through again and again and again. So we thought, if we've got an eminent scholar in the studio, why not just focus on these core issues and that affect the Muslim Ummah? Because every show is about identity. It's about drugs or alcohol. It always comes back to marriage. We always have a go at the mosques. We always blame the parents. It's always about sectarianism, Sunni Wahabi debate. It's always about Islamophobia. It's always about, if Islam is insulted. These are 6, 7 issues that come through again and again and again. So the topic of today's show is, what are the solutions to the issues that face the Muslims today? Because people go, you guys talk, but you don't give any solutions. You guys talk, you talk about the same points again and again, but you don't give any. But today, not me, not Brother Zaid, Shaykh Ibrahim OCF will be in the studio, and he will, offer the solutions to the main problems that face the Muslims today.
Just for those people who don't know, Saj, is this Sheikh qualified to give these answers?
This Sheikh, alhamdulillah, is a very prominent scholar. Now, one of the leading scholars in the UK. When you say, is he qualified, he's actually studied extensively with world-renowned teachers in Syria, in Mauritania, and in Hadramaut in Yemen. And also, he's actually studied for about, you could say, between 10 to 12 years with eminent scholars. So if that's not qualified, I don't know what is.
So basically, this is a qualified, eminent scholar. It's not somebody who thinks he knows.
It's not a cardboard job, but this is what we call, like you got Eric Cantona of football. He's one of those.
Right. Oh, right. Okay. Brother Naf, having a dig at me here. Brother, what's wrong with your throat? Too many oily samosas. Oh dear, when are you ready? Oh, Brother Naf is going to be, inshallah, hopefully back on the show when we get the next topic. Nafi is a very good friend of mine and also one of the co-hosts of the Let's Talk show and the leader of the conspiracy theory engine who made sure that the Illuminati and the Freemasons were following him, even in Pakistan. Right. So let's talk about this topic, but before we do that, we're going to take our commercial break, and inshallah by that time we should be able to roll into our show. So stay tuned. You're listening to Let's Talk on 0161 626 1444. Our text phone 07801 951 501 07801 951 501. Brother Naf, I wouldn't mind some of the oily samosas, so if you can rustle something up, join us in the studio. Assalamu alaikum. Come back after this important commercial break. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. This is the Let's Talk show. My name is Zahid Makbul, and in the studio is Brother Sajid Iqbal, Ayub, Kaf, all these other names, but he's also the editor of The Revival, the voice of the Muslim youth. Yesterday, you heard our very, by now, legendary and famous Q&A, questions and answers, by Sheikh Salim Ghiza from Preston. We answered so many questions that people say, bro, it goes a bit fast, we don't really know what's going down. But the great news is, if you go onto our website, therevival.co.uk, inshallah, what you will see is you'll see all the questions and answers from you'll see all the questions and answers from the previous shows. So what you can do is you can tune into our website, you can log on, and you can actually listen to our radio, and you can listen to the Q&A. I want to thank our program sponsor, which is Delta Communications. They specialise in mobile phone repairs, laptop repairs, computer repairs and console repairs. All mobile phone accessories available, Western Union money transfer service, Virgin Media contracts available, all under one roof. Delta Communications, 316 Leeds Road, Oldham, 0161 627 5577. So thanks very much to Delta Communications. Tonight is a slightly different show than what was arranged. We have an eminent scholar by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the studio, and yesterday we had a lot of questions being answered, and some people say, you know what, you do Q&As which are too quick, but we can't remember the answers sometimes. So we've inshallah got a solution for that, and that is the show is live, the show is stored on our server. You can download it, you can listen to it as you speak today. So all the shows that we've had on Let's Talk this year are on the Revival next year. All the shows that we've done, next day, I beg your pardon, not next year. All the shows that we've done in the past are actually in Brother Ali's mind, and they are going to be put onto the server at some point, inshallah. One day we're going to get Brother Ali, we're going to tie him down with some duct tape, and we're going to tickle him until he gives us his password, and then we're going to get all our Let's Talk shows out of him. But I'd like to first welcome to the studio and give a big warm Ramzan Mubarak to Sheikh Ibrahim Osiefa. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How's your Ramzan?
Alhamdulillah, bi fadlillah. It's beautiful.
Sheikh, I'm on my best behaviour this time. I think the last time you was on, you must have left thinking he's a complete nutcase. But I'm on my good behaviour today, and if I've been naughty, then you can put me in the corner, and I can be in the naughty position if you need to be. But the questions tonight, just to give you some flavour, we had over maybe 200-300 questions yesterday, and Sheikh Salim Ghiza answered them. Because of the scale of time, he wasn't able to give very full answers. But the Revival, inshallah, will try to give a more in-depth answer. And this show, we're now at 12 o'clock. It's an adult show. So we always give the warning that it's not designed for little kiddies. It's not a yes and no game. There's no narfs and nasheeds on this show. It is there for information to the Muslims, as well as we strongly encourage and welcome our non-Muslims out there as well. Because I know that a lot of non-Muslims listen to this show. I was at a petrol station and I was paying for it, and as I spoke, he said, "Oh, I recognise that voice. Are you on the radio?" I said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "Oh, we listen to your show." I said, "Oh, very good. What do you think of it?" He said, "Well, firstly, I like it, the fact that you actually say welcome to our non-Muslim listeners, because we listen to it. There's a lot of misunderstandings around there, and it clears some of them up. So we're very grateful for your time, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you here and in the hereafter." And let's start off, Brother Sajid.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, bifadlillah, all's well.
It's been a while since we've spoke and met. How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
I'm sure you've seen the latest issue of the Revival magazine, and for those who don't know, we have an exclusive interview with the one and only Sheikh Ibrahim Asiafa, and alhamdulillah, if you read it...
The one and only is Allah.
Of course he is, yes. You know what I mean, don't you? So, and the interview that we had with the Sheikh, mashallah, we covered quite a lot of issues and quite a lot of topics. So if you haven't got hold of the magazine so far, by all means, pop down to the studio, or you can read the magazine on the revival.co.uk. The show today, inshallah, the reason why the show today is a bit different is that we have an eminent scholar in the studio. So what I thought was, every year we do the Sheikh, we always get 6, 7 or 8 issues that come out again and again and again. So we thought, you know what, rather than every year talk about those issues, let's try to get a scholar to give some solutions towards those problems if possible. So for example, no matter what topic we choose, it always goes back to identity, it goes back to drugs, to alcohol, everyone has a go at the mosque, they have a go at the parents, issue of marriage,
sectarianism, Islamophobia.
So these are the 7 issues that come in, year out, no matter what angle we take. So I thought what we'll do today is we'll briefly discuss some of these issues, and the aim is to find out what are the root causes and what are the solutions. And inshallah, what we're going to try to do is, because that we want people to go away with solutions. So if we go on about mosques, rather than moaning about them, what are the practical solutions that we can all do? And same with all the other topics as well. Brother Zaid.
Yeah, I'm going to clear some text messages, and I'm also, where possible, you've got to remember I'm a little bit thick, and I give you answers based on my understanding of things. If there's a danger that question requires an Islamic understanding, I won't answer it. I'll hand it over to the people who can answer it. But if it's a straightforward one, we'll deal with it and get on with it. It says, "Salam brothers, you're all right. What is the best solution to deal with temper?" So, you know, a solution to deal with somebody's temper, that's good, that can come into it. Pakistan charity flood appeal cricket 8-a-side tournament to be held at Worth and Oldham Cricket Club on Bank Holiday Monday, 30th of August, starts at 11 a.m. First 12 teams enter. They pay £100 entry fee. If it rains, they get £50 left. They've only 2 places left. For more details, you can ring Abid or Nav or on 07814 031 661 or 07958 380375. There will be trophies for the winners and the runners-up. So I mentioned very early on about the need to give and the charity appeal itself. Salam, bro, finally I got your number. Great show. Internet idea is great. Jazakallah, thanks very much for that one.
I just got a text saying that they can't hear myself and Sheikh that clearly. So if you want to just fidget around with the...
I think if they can't hear it clearly, then you need to be closer to the microphones. But inshallah, they're looking at the readings on it. The readings are very good. So there aren't any poor readings on it at all at the moment. It says here, bro, I thought you were going to talk about women's rights, just like you had announced on Friday. We did have to change the topic, and inshallah we may go back to women's rights, and it is a topic that's covered very, very deeply in the revival itself. But inshallah, when you see why we've done this tonight, I'm hoping that you should be able to pick up the reasons for it. It says here, Salam, Ramzan Mubarak. I just wanted to give my Salam on Ramzan Mubarak to Sheikh, from Sheikh Ibrahim Asiafa from Gesser in Oldham.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Another one here, it says, I'm really looking forward to, I've been asking for the last 4 days, when is Sheikh Ibrahim on? I'm very, very excited. I hope the Sheikh gives you an insight, and more importantly, some answers to what you're looking for here. Can you mention details of the Pakistan shoebox appeal? Sad, do you know any details about that one?
Yes, the shoebox appeal is that there's a prominent radio station in Great Manchester who is started on this initiative, and from the Oldham level, if the distribution point is the Masjid Jamia Shamsia on Abbey Hills Road. So if you've got a shoe box size box, if that makes sense, the idea is to put in food which we can send to Pakistan. It will be escorted by the police. It will be going to Manchester Airport through PIA, who will be sending it free to Pakistan, and then it will be distributed there. And it's stuff like food, basically. But there's a little bit more detail in terms of you can send.
It's dry stuff, basically.
Dry stuff, yeah.
It's things like if you've got some nuts there, or you might have some cereal there, and you have some tins there. Obviously, tins are weighty items, so some of the dry stuff is more appreciated. You know, if you've got oats, anything that you think that are lentils, there are good source. Don't put anything fresh in there. There's no point putting, you know, a kilo of chops inside there.
And if you can't actually get to Abbey Hills Mosque, what you can do is you can drop it off at Nagina Jamia Mosque, or if you let us know, and Councillor Javed Iqbal, what he said is that if you just let us know, then what we'll do is we can come to your house, pick up the box, and send it off to the distribution point.
Jazakallah. So the topic tonight is solutions. Simple as that. Some people are saying we're not quite sure what the topic's right tonight, but it's about solutions. What's your topic today? Solutions. It was a few minutes ago. So let's look at the first one.
Let's start with it. I think what we'll actually start off with is the issue of identity. Because before we can talk about, you know, the other solution, we need to know first of all who we are, what we are, and why we are. So the first question for the Sheikh is that there seems to be some kind of identity crisis among the Muslim youth. So my first question, you know, let's start with the root causes. What do you think the reason for that is?
Bismillah, sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ala. I think one thing which I see is beautiful what Yusuf did, inshallah ta'ala, is again just a focus upon the issue of solutions. One of the things that we took from our teachers is that whenever you don't offer positive images of solution, you perpetuate the problems. And a lot of times we as Muslims, we can talk around issues and then no sorts of positive solutions can come out of it. And ultimately the issue of solution is found inside of the religion, because that's ultimately what the Quran as well as the words of the Prophet ﷺ comes to do, is to bring forth solutions to all of the various ills and crises that afflict man. Okay, so when we speak about the issue of identity first and foremost, then identity is something which, again, it's a modern buzzword, and we have to understand that these are modern buzzwords. But some of the crises in not understanding who one is because people fail to go back to the source of the one who created the is, i.e. created the self, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think that is a key in our sort of lack of understanding of ourselves, is that we do not attach to the religion in a wholehearted way, because it's through the religion that we can get a proper education of exactly who we are as human beings, whether it's in the generic sense, human beings, or even in the more peculiar sense, as in terms of cultural identity, you know, political identity, social identity, or whatever the other sort of quote-unquote identities are.
So, in that sense, so for example, you're a young guy who lives in the UK, you know, you're actually born and bred in this country, so you know you try to be a good Muslim, but obviously then what happens is, you know, your nationality comes into it, your culture comes into it, the Western society comes into it, and Islam comes into it. So then you're thinking, hang on, am I just a Muslim? Am I a British Muslim? Am I an Asian Muslim? And what should I be? And you know, that you get confused.
So the key is that you're a Muslim.
Okay.
وَمَا خَلَقَتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونِ, that I only created jinn and human beings to worship me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created creation as slaves unto Him, لِيُعْرَفْ, so that we may become people who know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as what saying Abdullah ibn Abbas, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He says لِيَعْبُدُونِ, to worship me, He says to know me. And what becomes problematic in terms of our identity is when we begin to place these sort of man-made notions between us and the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether those man-made notions are issues like cultural identity, national identity, whether it's things like political identity, political parties. These things are ultimately obstacles between you and your real self, and your real self is that you're a slave unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to remember that in the creation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, that potential to place obstacles between ourselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only exists amongst two communities, and that is the jinn as well as the human being. Every other creature Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created has no problem with its identity, because they weren't given that great amana, the amana of free will. We do. And that problem with identity means we place obstacles between us and our real self, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's on the basis of that the ulama, they tell us, Man arafa nafsa, the one who knows his own true identity, arafa rabba, he knows his Lord. Because that's your purpose, to know your Lord.
Okay, I mean, that's quite, in-depth answer. I think the reason why we mention this is that among the British Muslims, among the Muslim youth out there, the reason why they get confused is because culture does play like a big part in their lives. For example, you've got parents who come from back home, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, etc. Now what happens is that most of your life, is cultural. Okay. Now, what is the solution to making sure that your identity, or let me rephrase the question, is there anything wrong with having a cultural identity? Is there anything wrong with that? For example, if I said to you, Sheikh, you know what, I'm British, I'm a Pakistani Muslim, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, can I be a Muslim and British and Asian at the same time? And if I can't, then why not? And what is the issue with that?
No doubt you can. But remember, there are different degrees of Islam, and somebody who really truly identifies himself as a Muslim, who's British, who's from Liverpool, who's from a particular part of Liverpool, all of these other appendages are ultimately barriers between them and their true slavehood, which means a true recognition of Godhood. That when we speak about who we are, ultimately we have to recognize that we are slaves, and we freed ourselves of every other. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, when he was asked about the mahabba of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how do we attain the love of Allah Jalla fil Ula, of Allah, that he says, izhad fi dunya, izhad zuhud. And what zuhud is about is detachment from every other. That's what it's about, and that's one of the highest principles in the religion. And so long as we are attached to anything, then ultimately that there is some type of skewing of our real identity, which is a slave, full stop. You see?
No, so from what you're trying to say is that the identity that should be the strongest is your Islamic identity. Is that a true understanding of what you're trying to say? Is that even though you can have a nationalistic identity and you can have parts of your culture, as long as Islam is what defines you and is the rules that you follow, then everything's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I would say is that for me or for a youth to get to that stage, because the issue is that our role model, the person that we look up to, our life should...
What's important about that answer, sorry to interject you, this doesn't mean that somehow we are, one fights against these other identities. Do you understand?
Okay.
Promoting engagement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not mean one declares war against, Pakistani identity, British identity, I'm a Labour, I'm a Liberal, I'm a left and I'm a right. It's not what declaring war against the other, but it's most about promoting the other with a capital O, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, turning towards Him, and in a sense forgetting about what these other things, which ultimately are straps that hold you back.
Okay, that is actually, I think, the actual point that I was trying to get at. And I think when we were discussing the interview that we actually did with yourself, was that a lot of youngsters, the reason when they're confused with the identity is that when they look up to people, instead of looking up to the Prophet ﷺ as the role model, the person that we follow, because of the identity crisis, the role model seems to be the likes of Tupac, the likes of Beckham, the likes of Rooney. So what my question to you then is, for those people who have that set frame mind, how can we change from their role model being Tupac to the Prophet?
That ultimately role models have to be something that people can touch out and feel. And the key thing is, how do we nurture any role models inside the environment in which Muslims ultimately find themselves? Because the Prophet ﷺ can be somewhat abstract. You see, he can be somewhat distant from the lives of many people. And the Prophet ﷺ is ultimately found in people who tread his path. And that's why Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mubarak in the beginning of Sahih Muslim, he speaks about al-isnadu min ad-din. That isnad, meaning the transmission of men, great men and great women, is from the very foundations of religion. That if we don't find people, exemplary people, inside of our own communities, then the Prophet ﷺ is too distant for people to ultimately take him as an example unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لقد كان في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله ويوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا. That you will find in the Messenger of Allah like a perfect example for the one who has hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, يرجو الله ويوم الآخر, and the hereafter, and he makes much remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So what are because this is all about solutions, what are the steps or what are the things that we can do for for all the young Muslims who are listening to this show now? They think, you know what, I live in this country, it's a bit hard to be a Muslim, it's a bit hard to follow the Sunnah all the time, it's a bit hard to be a practicing Muslim. So what are the steps that they can take to make sure that the identity is Islamic and that the role model remains the Prophet and they can stay on the Sunnah of the Prophet?
I mean, there's a few. I mean, there's practical things, such as first and foremost, we would say there has to be some type of detachment, because ultimately you have to understand is that what is setting your role models. So, for instance, when somebody who engages television, as an example, engaging television, then ultimately role models are going to be set for you, whether you believe that or not. So you need to disconnect the television, okay?
Just to stop you there. Sorry, when he said disconnect the television, what do you mean?
Yani, what we're speaking
don't
about...
watch TV or...
No, that's exactly what I'm saying, don't watch television. What we're speaking about here is nurturing human beings. Nurturing human beings. And I can only advise you, because I was a youth one day, and it's advice that I took from my teachers, and as a youth, I followed that advice. Okay, and so the point being is that when we speak about the methodology of nurturing human beings, tarbiyah, there are always two elements we take into consideration. The first is called takhliyah, and the second is, you can call it tarbiyah or tahliyah. So what is takhliyah? Yani tarbiyah is takhliyah and tahliyah. What is takhliyah? Takhliyah is that you must disconnect. You must rid the heart of negative things, first and foremost, because you cannot go and embellish a prostitute. Do you understand? She's got to clean up her act first, then you begin to embellish her. Okay, you cannot go and, no matter what musk you put on a person who's filthy and stinking, he still stinks, doesn't he? He has to go and wash himself first and foremost before he can dress nicely and put on beautiful fragrance, beautiful perfume. So first and foremost, takhliyah is more important, and takhliyah is always about disconnecting. So when television becomes one of the most powerful mediums inside of the life of each and every single one of us, and what the images that it's projecting into the depths of our mind. You know, if you read books upon television, as an example, when you gaze at a television, where do you see the image?
On the TV screen.
On the TV. One of the trickeries of that instrument, the television, is that the image is really in the depths of your mind. It's not on the television screen. Televisions are actually projectors. But just one of the complexes of the human brain, we see the image without when it's actually really within. In the depths, study the issues of television. So these images are being cast into the depths of the human mind, and thereby we suddenly find ourselves, whether we like it or not, taking negative exemplars as to how we're going to lead our lives. And it's really controlled. They did one experiment upon television where they had these subliminal messages, subliminal between frames, so that the naked eye doesn't register, but the brain registered it. So one of the ones they showed was in the midst of it, they were showing like people drinking like Coca-Cola, and then they'd stop, and then they'd have like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Fanta, and people would get up and go and get Coca-Cola, nothing else. Why? Because these subliminal messages was informing their very, very behavior. So lo and behold, when we sort of are people who sit in front of the TV, it is in a sense shaping how we view the world and ultimately how we view people. And if the Prophet ﷺ doesn't wear Nike, then he's not cool. Because television has defined Nike as being cool. If the Prophet ﷺ never drove a Ferrari, but he rode a horse and he rode a camel, then what's cool in a camel? What's cool in a horse? He should have drove a Ferrari ﷺ or a Bugatti or whatever these things that they call, because we've been informed by something else. So the first step, which is takhliyah, is to begin to sever all of the negative influences. Human beings are ultimately products of our environment, and even in the midst of our own rooms, when we're by ourselves, environments are being created by virtue of television, by virtue of the phone, by virtue of the internet. We're creating environments even when we're in solitude, and these environments are negative.
What I will say to that is, I mean, you're a scholar and I'm not, yeah, but I kind of disagree with that, and I'll just try to explain why. Because from what you're trying to say is that if you watch TV, then you're influenced by what the TV is doing, by the society, and then, you know, it will take you away from the deen basically at a time. But what I would say is that, I mean, a lot of people who watch TV and have been watching since they were kids, now they are practicing individuals, you know, who are active in the deen as well. For example, I watch TV. What do I watch? A bit of football. I watch a bit of Mr. Bean. I watch the news. I watch cartoons with my little son. So what I'm trying to say to you is that, isn't it what you watch, not just put the TV and put it in the bin? Because then you're kind of going back in the dark ages and trying to be like the Taliban and trying to ban everything, when really you should say, you know, just like the internet. Depends how you use it, isn't it? It's not, you know, get your internet and put it in the bin. It should be, don't watch the dodgy stuff, don't go onto stuff that's haram, but watch the stuff that's halal.
I mean, what I would interject, sorry, before you speak, is that I think we have to be careful of saying going back into the dark ages and being like the Taliban. Because that sort of metaphor that you just used with the Taliban, what informed you of the Taliban? What was it?
It was the news, it was the research,
So the media has shaped you and has taken that word, that abstract word Taliban, and it's informed that word in your mind about a specific understanding of what that word's supposed to imply. You have to be careful.
No, I do have to be careful, but I totally believe in what I mentioned, and I said that with responsibility, in the sense that...
No, it's foolish to believe anything that you don't know upon ma'rifah, you don't know with certitude, foolish. And Islam warns sternly against that. Belief is yaqeen, is certitude about something. And they say, al-hukmu ala shay farun an tasawwurihi. You only make judgments upon something when you have a complete an accurate, empirical conceptualization of that thing.
We can't speak against the Taliban because we haven't gone there, we haven't spoken to them, we haven't seen them with our eyes.
That's exactly what I'm saying,
I might disagree with that again.
Right, before we start disagreeing too much, my understanding of what the answer that Sheikh gave was perfectly reasonable. See, what the question that you was, what is the solution? Now, if the solution is that you're I'm a Muslim and British Muslim and from the north of England, some people could turn around and say, okay, I'm Pakistani Muslim and I'm Punjabi Muslim. These alls were as the Sheikh put it. Now, my understanding of it was, and what the Sheikh said was perfectly correct, which is, if my other understanding comes from a sphere which is the television, that's the bit that needs to be disconnected.
Do you watch the TV?
I watch the TV, but the Sheikh hasn't said, from my understanding, that you should not be watching the TV. What he's saying is, be careful of... If I switch the TV on and start channel hopping, and watch anything that's on in there, there are some little messages.
But I think the Sheikh is saying is don't watch the TV.
What I'm saying is that what your issue is a solution to many of the problems that were severed us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is nobody as a rule, and there are exceptions to rules, but what we understand in Islam, that wa al-hukmu ala al-ghalib, that we make judgments in accordance to what is normal, not in accordance to what is exceptional. So when I'm speaking on rules, not exceptions, that nobody as a rule will reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and television is inside of their life. That's as a rule. And we can take that statement and we can reflect upon it inside of our own lives.
I agree with that.
We engage ourselves with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we can be people, ruk'a sujood, face row inside of the masjid, but we ultimately know, بَلِ الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرًا وَلَوْ أَلْقَى مَعَاذِيرًا. Allah ta'ala says, the human being knows himself best even when he offers excuses. He's going to say everything out there, but when he goes into the confines of his own house, he understands where he's at with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
You know, in a way, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Sheikh, this almost like worshipping the wrong idols. If you look at the TV and you consider that, I remember once, Sheikh, sorry, Saj, somebody rang me, and you know, years and years ago, I used to be in retail. And somebody rang me up and they said, you know, we know you from blah, blah, blah. And they somehow managed to track me down. Can you come to the house? The major problem. So I said, well, what is it? No, we can't tell you. Can you come, please? I thought, I do know this person. I got to the house and his TV was disconnected. No. Think of would he have rung me up, or would somebody rung me up and say, look, can you help us? We've got nowhere to read Salah. They wouldn't have done that, would they? They'd have said, listen, it's more important. So I think I understand what the Sheikh is saying. It's almost like if the problem of your identity is what is influencing you, and that influence is the TV, so is the TV off. That's what he's saying. Not don't watch the TV. Because you could certainly watch shows that if they're portraying an Islamic perspective on things, or if you want to keep informed in different ways, you could do it. The use of the internet can be done. You know, it's the correct use of it rather than the abstract use.
Okay, I think what the Sheikh also said was that was the first part, and then he said the second part was tarbiyah.
Was tahliya.
Tahliya, sorry.
Tahliya is something different, and I think it's very difficult for us to speak about tahliya, which is the second and most important part of tarbiyah, because this is now how you begin to, because the first is removing the chains, the shackles, and then the second is how do we ascend unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first is tahliya, ridding yourself, disconnecting yourself. The second is tahliya, which is embellishment, ascension, fi maraqi zulfa, in the rungs of ascension unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that's a difficult conversation. You see, that conversation, when we start speaking about that conversation, then Islam becomes pie in the sky, it becomes unattainable, because somebody can't dream can't speak of the heavens when he's shackled to earth. He has to disconnect first and foremost.
And I think that was the reason why I reacted in the way I did to what you said, because for someone who is very materialistic and who is involved with the dunya, when you tell them, you know what, put the TV away, it's not easy for them to implement that. So before they can do that, what are the steps that they need to take? Because if you said to me, Saj, look at your beard, it needs to be like one fist long, for me to do that straight away, I'm going to find it hard. As my iman will grow, that will grow. In the same way, as my iman will grow, I'll cut down on the TV, I'll make sure so if you see exactly where I'm coming from, if you said to people, chuck your TV away, it's not realistic for them, if you know what I mean.
So therefore, they've got those people who don't have the the determination to take radical steps inside of their life in order to better their life and to ensure that their identity is according to what Allah Ta'ala wants, then they're going to have to somehow become people of greater control and restraint. So that's what one of the great and ultimate themes of Ramadan is, restraint. How we're able to discipline ourselves and choose to do good as opposed to choose to doing bad. Okay? So as an example, now I can't get rid of my television. Then you have a clear mizan. So therefore, programs as an example. If I'm watching a program and a program does not promote me praying, maybe that's not a good program. I want to ask yourself, Sajid, who disagreed strongly, when last did you gaze at television and television it said to you, get up, go and pray your salah right now? Or you got that feeling from television? When last did you watch television, you got that feeling of, I should just go out and just, go and give money for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, go and build things for the sake of Allah Ta'ala? When last did you watch television and you said, you know what, I just need to fast from a bit of dunya, I need to go on Hajj, I need to go and knock on my neighbor's door and see whether my neighbor needs anything, I need to go and see what type of positive influence I can be in society? When last did television give you those type of messages? So we need to have some type, I'm going to watch television, okay, but I need to have some type of criterion by which I can positively engage television and not be a passive, observer of television. As
you know, nowadays there are a lot of Islamic channels out there. So that's what I mean. You've got so many Islamic channels out there that talk about exactly what you mentioned there. They do make you go out there, I want to pray. They do go and make you out and do something with your life and actually contribute to the deen. So, to answer your question, if you watch Islamic channels, it does exactly that. And even if you don't watch, I'll ask you a question. I mean, if I'm watching football, I'm watching Sky Sports, and I'm watching Man United versus Liverpool, yeah? Or I'm watching any sport, or watching Newsnight, or watching Question
Let's
Time.
just stick to what you're watching.
I'm watching, for example, Question Time, yeah? Now you tell me, that's not asking me to go to the mosque, that's not asking me to do everything that you said there, but it's a political debate, and as a Muslim who lives in this country, I need to be aware, I need to be in touch, I need to be engaged with that. I shouldn't isolate myself, I shouldn't put my head in the sand and think, I can't watch that, man, it's bad, it might influence me, when really, I need to know what's going on.
So why don't you go and engage human beings? The human being in the Arabic language is called the insan, a social creature. Yeah, I want to know what's going on inside of my social sphere. Let me go and engage people, speak to people, get involved with people. Do you think that's a lot more positive? Because ultimately when we engage television for that type of information, they position us such that the Taliban are like, oh, you see, it's like the boogeyman themselves.
But they are.
Well, I don't think you've ever met one in order to make that type of judgment. And what we understand is that Allah Ta'ala will judge. And I don't understand, I mean, I have no interest right now, sitting in Liverpool, of making a judgment on the Taliban.
We're in Oldham.
Yeah, well, no, I'm talking about me when I'm in.
Right.
I'm sort of.
Yeah, no, don't worry about
it. I've been dragged here by Sajid to be in.
Don't worry, Sheikh. You're not alone. Brother Naf's also a Liverpool supporter, and I'm sure there's good medicine that you can take to steer him away from this.
Well, you understand? I mean, I have no interest in speaking about the Taliban. They don't inform my reality. So why should I risk my standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about speaking about a group, wherever they are, if they really do exist, whatever it is, so that I endanger my akhirah, because I could be speaking erroneously, because the information that I understand about such a group or such individuals was fed to me by a television.
Jazakallah. Let's go to a very important commercial break before Brother Ali sends his henchman, who's known as Derek or Tariq, on his way up, and he gives me that look where he's trying to, basically do me in. I just want to also thank my kind-hearted and close brother, Nafiz Habib, who I said about the oily kebabs, send them over, and he has done. The kebabs are here, and Jazakallah, thanks for that, Naf. I appreciate it. You're welcome to come and join us, and we will be munching our way through this. Jazakallah. Stay tuned. You're listening to Let's Talk with Sheikh Ibrahim Osiefa, and the topic for tonight is solutions. So we've had one solution. Do you agree, disagree? We've had loads of text messages coming through. The next one we're going to try and talk about is alcohol. So what is the sort of solution to alcohol? My solution is don't drink it. But what are the causes of it? Why do people do it? Why do we sell it? Why do we justify it? So let's just go through some of those after this very, very important commercial break. Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Good evening, assalamu alaikum, and welcome back, especially to our non-Muslim listeners out there. You're listening to the Let's Talk show. Brother Nafs, the samosas were very, very good, and so were the pakoras. Young Sadi is not allowed to because he is on a very strict diet, and if he doesn't look good for his picture that's going to be sent back to Mirpur on Eid, then he's going to get into trouble. But myself and inshallah the good Sheikh will succumb to the pakora and samosas. Thanks very much, Naf. Let's thank our programme sponsor, which this year is Delta Communications. Delta Communications specialise in mobile phone repairs, laptop repairs and computer repairs. Console repairs, all mobile phone accessories available. Western Union money transfer service. Virgin Media contracts available, all under one roof. Delta Communications, 316 Leeds Road, Oldham. The telephone number 0161 627 5577. So that's Delta Communications. We've been talking about solutions tonight, and I've got to be careful because Brother Sajid believes he wants to just finish the last question. He might end up just finishing us all off if he carries on with his 50 questions. I want to read these texts, Saj, then you can come in. And you mentioned that which is small. Make sure that remains small and it doesn't become large, because you have the tendency to interject with more than one interjection. Right, let's go for this one here. It says, Salam, can I just say, what a beautiful answer the Sheikh just gave about identity. I could not have put it better myself. Jazakallah, thanks for that text message. It says here, I have just tuned in. What is today's topic about? It's about solutions. It says here, brothers in Islam. Salam, brothers in Islam. Islam comes before culture and so forth. You are a Muslim before anything, and we should be a unity. How do we get rid of the scum who are poisoning our children with drugs without fear of them attacking us? If we go to the authorities, what is the Islamic way? Sheikh is absolutely correct, Brother Sajid. Get a grip with you. Totally agree with the Sheikh. Lighten up a little bit, bro. And active listening skills. Somebody having a ding dong with Brother Sajid, which is not unusual. Says here, Islam brothers, Sheikh says that we shouldn't watch TV. Well, nowadays the only way youngsters learn about Islam is through the television. It has an advantage as well as disadvantages. We just need to learn how to not to misuse it. Yeah, it's, what about just watching the right stuff? So do we really need all the other channels, all 300 channels? Not really. Islam, I love what the Sheikh is saying, and why is Zaid trying to make something that is wrong into right? I wasn't aware. I think you might be confusing me with Saj. I'm the good-looking one with lots of hair. Saj is the one who's probably got more hair. Bro, television stands for Tele-Zion. Oh, it's negative, bro. I think that's part of the conspiracy engine opening up. I wonder whether it's brother Nafiz Habib sat around with these text messages here. Muslims should call themselves Muslims, and that's it. The rest of the labels are just middle names. It's a bit pointless, and ultimately they are just a way to work out your origin and current geographical location and beliefs. A reason for consuming alcohol could be peer pressure. The company of the people you're in is difficult not to get involved, especially when you come to a non-Muslim country of your own. An alternative could alcohol-free cider or alcohol-free beer. At least you're not singing. You're not sinning, actually, sorry. Says here, brothers, you're not answered my question. I asked, where did Brother Salim do his education? That's from last night. We did answer that, and you can rewind our show on therevival.co.uk. Hello, Salam. A group of us are nattering about your accents. One of them is a Liverpudlian accent, right? Absolutely right, Sherlock. Nothing's got past you tonight. Anyway, the group of people are saying, good show and keep up and enjoy your kebabs and pakoras. There were no pakoras. The brother Nafs did send us samosas and the pakoras. Leave them, Saj, not yet. Oh, and that's what about going to the cinema and the theatre? Is that halal as well? Well, to be honest with you, going to the cinema and the theatre, you've got to remember, you've got no control of it there. With a TV and the remote, you can switch it off. With the TV, I've actually stopped my niece from going to... She used to go to these so-called Bollywood, but I found out, I looked at them, and I looked at the picture, and I thought, no. Okay, you can say it's a family film. It's, to me, that is the worst baloney. I say no to that. Salam, brothers, the best visual effect is looking at the life after death, and you pray and zikr. Your TV is not needed. So somebody there backing up the Sheikh for that one. It says here, some Sahabas were also known by where they are. Farsi, Habashi, etc. So somebody's saying about the role of identity then. Okay, over to you, Brother Sajid.
Okay, and I also got this text message as well, which is directly to what the Sheikh was saying. Says, I read that watching plays is sunnah. Is TV not just a modern version of that? Let me start with that, Sheikh, and then what we'll try to do here is, in the next 3-4 minutes, is try to wrap up this issue of identity, and then we'll move on to the next one. So the first one, if you want to answer this one about this relates to your issue of TV, because at the time the Prophet used to go himself and Sahaba used to watch plays. So what the question is TV not just the modern version of plays?
Yeah, I mean, usually when in logic, they tell us when you have an incorrect premise, then what it produces is what they call a fallacy. You all hear the word fallacy. Okay, so it's a fallacy what has just been mentioned. That first and foremost, the Prophet ﷺ and all the Sahaba did never engage in watching plays. So therefore, if using that as a justification for watching television is absolutely erroneous. It's a fallacy.
Okay. And that's spot on, actually.
Why? Because plays, at every degree of a play is lies.
An act.
Yeah, it's an act. It's play. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you feel safe from our might that we will not take you by the day whilst you are playing? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Play is not something which is enjoined in the religion. It's antithetical to religion.
Okay. Exactly. Now, what I want to do was, we are getting some of the text message on the subject, but what I'm going to do, just one final point, then we move on to the next issue, was this was about identity, and what we started to talk about was how can we make sure that we get to see the Prophet as our role model. The final question on this one is that you mentioned, basically so far that, try to not to watch the TV and so forth, but what are the other steps, or what are the things that an individual needs to do to make sure that Islam is the number one priority and the Prophet ﷺ's Sunnah is our priority? How do we go about doing that? Because it's easy to say it, but how to practice it.
What we were trying to make mention of this issue of detachment and attachment, that ultimately, if we wanted to sum it up in one concept, it is environment. Okay, that if we place ourselves in good, positive environments that promote religion, promote the Prophet ﷺ and attachment to his way, then lo and behold, even what is in Arabic, رغم أنفك, despite yourself, that you become somebody of higher aspirations and higher practice. But when you allow yourself to be in environments that are negative, as we said, even if you're in the depths of your own room, but the television is blaring, the internet is being engaged, in a negative sense, then khalas, you're going to find yourself where you're at, or even worse, on the road to destruction. It's simple as that. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Al-marru ala dini khalilihi, that a human being is upon the religion of his intimate company. Ibn Khaldun, inside of his Muqaddimah, he said that a human being is environmental by nature. It's his environment that influences him. Simple.
Okay, Sheikh, Jazakallah, thanks for that. A very robust answer. But this is the one that I wanted to ask you about, because to me, one of the biggest afflictions and scourges that I genuinely do not see any validation or reason why brothers out there, Muslim brothers I'm referring to, and sisters do this, and that is drinking of alcohol and consuming of alcohol. That to me is the new silent plague, because in the workplace it's promoted. You do well, you get a bottle of wine. So Shaitan's influence has started in the workplace. It's recognised as, you've done really well, go on lad, big pat on the back, bottle of wine. I know people who go out and who, and I hate saying this, on Eid will be the first drink that they have. So they'll be sent to places like Wimslow Road. They'll be walking up and down with cans of Coke and acting very loud, and they will have alcohol inside. I'm a magistrate. In 2007 or 8, I think it was 8, I got called on a bail, and it was a Muslim girl who had been arrested. And the officer rang me and he said, look, can you come and speak, because this girl has been arrested and we've given her so in order for her to be, they actually cautioned her 7 times. They said, look, we don't want you to do this. And then somebody came over because they were fearful of grabbing a Muslim girl in the middle of public and then setting off, machoism, I'm going to defend her. She was completely out of it. That's the state of the Muslim Ummah on alcohol. Shops are selling it. We go in there and buy our bread. I've seen one, and we actually campaign against this, Saj, on Wimslow Road. And people said, Zaid, you've made it up. It said on it, in the name, it actually had an interpretation of the Quran, and underneath it said, Haji, wine and spirits. On Wimslow Road. And when we saw it, we got some influenced brothers to take that off. You shouldn't be having it, but don't rub our nose in it by putting that up there. Blaspheme of the highest quality. This is a very passionate and is a very, very emotional subject, but our brothers, and especially our sisters, are doing it. What is their Islamic take on it?
I mean, I think the Islamic take on it is very clear, and it's the absolute unconditional prohibition of alcohol. And we talk about alcohol, anything that clouds the intellect, clouds the mind, so we extend to that.
A glass of wine?
Oh, well, wine, no doubt, alcohol, but we extend drugs, etc. That the Islamic position is that it's absolute prohibition on that. And alcohol is actually one of the strongest prohibitions inside of the Sharia relates to alcohol, in that it's not only the one who drinks it. What about the one who saves it? What about the one who makes it? What about the one who's in the presence of somebody else whilst they're drinking on it? 10 different types of people are cursed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who have anything to do with the production or the consumption of alcohol.
I want to stop you there. You'll have to, this curse, when people say they're cursed, what does it mean by that? Because I want to frighten people. When you say Allah Ta'ala curses them, what is that curse? What is the ramifications of being cursed by that?
Hell. Why to curse? It's the word la'an in the Arabic language, which means to be taken out of the vast mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you're taken out of Allah ta'ala's mercy, you're in the midst of hell, even if you're in the midst of the dunya. In this world. Okay? And I think anybody, if you sat with them, and you spoke to them when they're engaged in drugs, when they're engaged in alcohol, no matter they might have a smiling face, that when they open up to you, they will begin to tell you stories that will shock you about how they experience life. They're in the midst of hell themselves.
Now, a lot of youngsters, as Brother Zaid mentioned, they're involved with the issue of alcohol and issue of drugs. Now, as a Muslim community, we had a show on this, and I just wanted to get your take on this, was that what, as a Muslim community, can we do to solve the problems of alcohol abuse?
It's back to our first discussion. Are you going to note that that's going to be a common theme probably in most of the things we speak about? Environment. That we have divorced ourselves from our environment, where we get, and I'm going to come back to the topic, that we get more pleasure out of sitting in front of a television, just being stimulated by light, and with these artificial fake characters, than actually engaging people, real people. And it's beautiful to hear that he's a magistrate. That's a beautiful sort of position to hold inside of society, where now you engage people and the problems of people. And it's not just about the hard hand, because these type of people don't need the hard hand. They need a stern word, but they also need a loving heart and a loving hand to approach them, to bring them out of the midst of of the chaos in which they have placed themselves in. So what we have a responsibility to do as Muslims are to create loving and nurturing environments, especially that we are in a very, very distant, alien and often hostile land to the tenets of our faith. This land, the dominant society, is not about creating believers in Allah Ta'ala, worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's about creating people who ultimately worship their own desires. The antithesis of the reality or the identity that each and every single one of us seek. And unless we begin to tackle these greater issues of creating beautiful environments, not just for us as Muslims, because there are many people who are in a greater difficulty than us who are from the non-Muslim community, who likewise would love to live in beautiful environments that promote human ethics and likewise promote sort of divine approachment of the divine
You
itself.
keep saying beautiful environments where we need to create what do you mean exactly?
What is this beautiful environment?
Environments where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worshipped.
Are you on about a mosque? Are you on about masjid?
Environments are ultimately about people and the actual attributes people possess. So we need to create environments, i.e. places where, if you, like Madinatul Munawwara as an example, you could find that if people went to the Madinatul Munawwara in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, regardless of what they were like, regardless of whether you are an alcoholic, whether you are a murderer, a mass murderer, a killer, as we found in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, you were a fornicator. As soon as they were placed in that type of environment where people didn't kill, And where people didn't fornicate, where people didn't use alcohol, where you found people in sujood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you found people crying in the depths of the night, recognizing their deficiencies unto Allah ta'ala, lo and behold, in a very short amount of time, despite themselves, they became people of prayer. They became people of remembrance. They became people of greater worship. They became people who were what about promoting the great ethics and morals that have been what descended from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala since the beginning of man's existence upon the face of planet Earth with Prophet Adam alayhi salam.
How do we go about
people?
When you say people, so I mean, let's just say Oldham, for example, or let's say Liverpool. I mean, you've got Oldham, you've got so many mosques, you've got so many individuals. You've got some people who are gangsters, you've got some people who are secular, you've got some people who are Islamic, you've got some people who are scholars, you've got students. Now, we've got a variety of people, in the community. Whose responsibility is it? Responsibility of, for example, the head of the Muslim community, like the Imam of the mosque, or is it, for example, the person who's in position, for example, he's a teacher, he's a youth worker, he's a social worker? Number one, who, and then how?
The hukam we're speaking about here is ordinarily we consider a fard kifaya. Fard kifaya means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing each cluster of Muslims with the responsibility to nurture such environments. وَقَدْ يَتَعَيَّنَ عَلَى الْبَعْضِ, and it could be considered fard ayn, a personal obligation upon specific individuals, because they may be people who have greater power or greater influence or greater intelligence with regards to the matter at hand. Okay, so ordinarily it's a collective responsibility, and when enough people begin to engage this responsibility, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifts the sin or the blame upon the rest. But where does that how is that responsibility discharged? Education. Okay, sound and broad Islamic education, that's how it's discharged. And when we mean sound and broad, that education is about instilling knowledge, virtues and practice inside of specific individuals, such that they become people who begin then to rectify society. Beautiful hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Inna al-Islam bada al-ghariba wa sayaudu ghariba kama bada fatuba lil-ghuraba. This is a very important tradition. Islam started as a strange thing, and it will once again return back to being a strange thing. So glad tidings to the strangers. Mal ghuraba ya Rasulullah. And it's important that the Sahaba asked, what are the ghuraba? I.e. that this concept was so distant from them that they refer to it in an inanimate sense, not sentient beings. And then the Prophet ﷺ corrected it, that this is not something abstract, non-sentient, but this is human beings. الَّذِينَ يُصْلِحُونَ النَّاسَ بَعْدَ أَنْ فَسَدُوا. That these are people, human beings who will rectify society after it's become corrupted or soiled. So we need to become a people who understand that how do we begin to rectify our societies? It starts with education, broad, sound, transmitted Islamic education that is about producing people who then have the ability to begin to nurture society as a whole.
When you say education, it's a really good point. But again, how and who? Because when you say education, are you emphasizing that it should be done by the Islamic institutions? Because when you're talking about Islamic education, surely that could only be done basically either in a mosque or Islamic center by a scholar. Or are you referring to anybody else?
No, I'm not referring. You've hit the nail on the head.
But as you know, and I know, that even though we have many masjids, very few of them teach the things that you're on about.
Because there's disconnect. Because the masajid, the 1,400 mosques that we have in this country were built by whom, Sajid? By
our elders, by our parents.
For what reason?
So we have a place of worship.
But ultimately it was the preservation of Islam as they knew it. As immigrants, first generation immigrants. Here the problems you're speaking about are ultimately not the problems of first generation immigrants. They're problems of second generation immigrants. And until second generation immigrants have built the institutions that ultimately deal with their problems, then it's perpetuation of the problems.
Yeah, but surely, Sheikh, we've built them now.
No, we have not built them.
How can we not build them?
Name me one institution the second generation have built. Name me one.
No, but we don't need to build them because they're already there.
They're not there. They're not there.
What about the mosques?
Fail to understand the issue.
Are the mosques not there? Are they not the institutions?
Who built the institutions? You've got to come back to who built them and what was the niyyah, the intention why those institutions were built. And they were not built. They were not built to tackle the problems that you were speaking about, that our youths face. And that is a fundamental problem why they will fail to tackle the problems. They're going to fail. And Yawm al-Qiyamah tafsilu baynana, the day of judgment will decide between ourselves, what I'm saying here. The only way that these problems are going to be solved when the second generation begin to build those institutions with those intentions, those broader intentions at mind.
You know, if as you mentioned there, we've got about 1,400 mosques, yeah? So they are already there. They were built by our elders who came from abroad or wherever they came from. They thought, you know what, to preserve the deen, we need to build these institutions for ourselves, so we can have like a place of ibadah, etc. Okay. Now these mosques are there. Okay. Now rather than building 1,400 more mosques, the mosques that are already there, why not turn them into making sure that they tackle the issues that concern us? Even though the first generation has built them, it's not their mosque. The mosque belongs to Allah, it belongs to the community. Now, surely, when it was in their time, you know, they did whatever they did. Now the future, is their kids, is their children, it's our future. If we saying that we can't actually deal with the issues in this mosque, we have to build new mosques to tackle, I think that's missing the point, you know?
No, I think that is the point. I think first and foremost, when we speak religion, we speak practical application of religion. Remember, our topic tonight is solutions. Now, you go to your local mosque, whatever mosque it is, and now all of these ideas that you're concerned about, now you try to get them implemented practically inside of your local mosque and see the type of opposition you're going to face until you leave planet Earth.
Because it's not the primary reason why the mosque was. I understand what your point is. It isn't that I understand. I've got a caller. Please keep hold the caller. I understand what the Sheikh's saying now. What he's saying isn't that we've got 1,400 mosques. What he's saying is we'll have 1,400 mosques, but they were created a place for people to go and pray their salah. What we're looking for now is a creation of people to tackle this problem. Okay, we've got a caller. Let's see what's happening. Assalamu alaikum, you're on Let's Talk. Sorry, brother, I might have kept you on the line or kept you waiting too long there. I do apologise. I'm figuring it out. What we're saying, Saj, so I'm clear in my mind, isn't that we've got 1,400 mosques out there and they're a waste of time. What we're saying is, and what the Sheikh's saying is, name me one institution or one place that's opened up with the sole purpose of tackling drugs. That's what he's saying. Now, what we're saying on the flip side of that is, can we not use that building? Now, the only way we can use that building is if we go there with that as the primary aim. So, if there's an institution within that mosque that doesn't deal with the rest of the stuff that the mosque does, all it deals with is the issue of drugs, then it could be considered a start. But if you've got a mosque that has a program which is ibadat, salah, the 5 pillars of Islam, they're never going to be able to tackle this.
I think my only concern is, I mean, we're actually now discussing the issue of drugs and alcohol, and the reason what I'm trying to get across is that and we're talking about solutions, and what I'm saying is, don't you think that one of these solutions is to make sure that we get rid of the alcohol and drugs among our youngsters, is that the mosque is the centre point of the community, yes? If we can use the masjid, for example, you know, to make our parents and youngsters aware of the harms of drugs, for example, in the masjid, okay? Have a drug awareness day, where because our parents don't know what weed is, what coke is, what it looks like, what are the signs that the kids are actually having weed, okay? And also the harms of alcohol. What I'm saying to you is that these mosques that are open down the country, which were built by the first generation, the solution now to tackle the problem is to use those same mosques and to basically try to tackle the issue within the masjid and say with the imam sahib, with the mosque, with the elder generation, with the youngsters together, and say let's have a regular drug and alcohol awareness day, week, month or whatever, so we can, number one, talk about this in the mosque, number two, discuss what the problems are, number three, talk about solutions.
I don't think that's necessarily a problem. You may find some mosques that oppose that, but I think maybe that's a program that can work in the mosque. But I don't necessarily think that program which you're suggesting is going to solve the issue of alcoholism or addiction.
What it will do is, as you know, our community doesn't like to talk about these issues. Number one, it will get them to talk about it. Number two, the young person who is involved in alcohol and drugs, that he can turn to the masjid for help and for guidance. The imam or the religious person can give, and also
in the current institutions, even with your drug awareness days, he's not going to find the help that he needs. He's not going to find it. He needs institutions that are built. And here, remember when I speak about institutions, I think you've limited it to the issue of a mosque. I'm not just speaking about masajid, about building of masajid, but of institutions in the generic sense that cater for the problems of in our communities, real problems, tangible problems. And if these problems are urgent, then why are we going to quote unquote waste time spending a few years with monthly or whatever drug awareness programs? Not saying they shouldn't happen, but if that's our solution, then we're wide of the mark.
Sorry, Saj, just on that, before you start launching into another 20 questions, listen to this one, Sheikh. If I were to suggest, because what we're saying is not an institution create, so that doesn't have to be the masjid. It could be an institution, an organisation that tackle. If I said to you, in the mosque we're going to have once a month, we're going to tackle the question about reading Salah. Would that work? It wouldn't, because they talk about it every single day. Because it's now the thing with drugs and alcohol is, if we talk whilst having a roadshow, whilst having an open day, whilst having a debate, whilst getting scholars in, whilst talking about it one day, it misses the other 300 and whatever days it is in the year. So in order for what the Sheikh's saying, and the penny has dropped with me, is that if this is such a major issue, and I believe it is, drugs and alcohol, by having it as a part-time subject in a masjid is never going to fix it.
It's not.
Is that what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, exactly what you're saying.
If you're saying that the mosques that we have at the moment, we can't really use them to try to tackle this issue, so we need to, to create or to build institutions to try to tackle this issue, yeah? So are we saying that we need to build new institutions, or are we saying we need to use the institutions that already exist to cater for that? Because if we're saying build new institutions, we're saying like that's...
I'm speaking practically, very practically. I'm saying that if the existing institutions can be used, then alhamdulillah. But I think practically we're going to find that the existing institutions are going to offer a great and intense resistance to these things that you are actually presenting. So what we're talking about is actually the reality is that we as second generational or third generational Muslims in this country need to build the type of institutions that include mosques. Because I think one thing which was said, and it's really important, is that mosques are the epicenter, the moral and ethical epicenter of our communities, but we need to build mosques that are broader in their embracement of the very people that they were there to accommodate in their journey unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the existing mosques do not do that, and by and large, they're not going to do that. Okay?
But what do you think we can...
And intention is very powerful.
Okay,
and when we speak of religion, intention is very powerful. When somebody builds an institution with a specific intention, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala interferes in that. And an example before we just break is a man in Jahiliyyah before the coming of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He lived in Yathrib, okay, in a city called Yathrib, and he heard that the Prophet at the end of time was going to come and settle in the city of Yathrib. So he said, he's going to settle and live in the city of Yathrib. I am going to build the house that he's going to live in. That was his intention. So he built a house, and he lived and he died. And then his children lived and they died. And the grandchildren lived and they died. Eventually, his offspring sold it to another individual from a tribe called the Najjar. Okay? Who was that individual's name? His name was Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Malik ibn Sinan, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. And then the Prophet at the end of time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, manifests in Mecca. And then he makes the hijrah under command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Medinatul Munawwara, entering upon a camel whose name is Qaswa. And when he enters into Medina on a camel called Qaswa, every tribe is trying to pull the camel. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Da'ha, فَإِنَّهَا مَأْمُورَةٌ. Leave the camel, she's under command. She knows exactly where she's going. Where does she go to? And eventually she sits right in front of the house that man built centuries before, with the intention that the Prophet at the end of time is going to live there. And that was the first residence of the Prophet in Medinatul Munawwara. So when our parents built their mosques with specific intentions, it is in the metaphysical sense the reality of the matter, very difficult for us to work against those intentions. So if you want mosques, institutions that cater for the problems of these generations, then your intention must manifest into action by building them very, very institutions we need. That's the solution.
Jazakallah. I've got loads of text messages, Saj, and then I'm going to come straight to you, and you can think of another 50 questions to put in. Salam. Someone once said to me that they wanted to go to a club to do dawah. The person is practicing Islam and does not drink. I found this to be weird, but was confused as to whether this was good. What are the Sheikh's thoughts on that particular one?
That he doesn't need to go to the club, into the club, but he could sit outside of the club and he could get people as they're going in or going out. Okay? And I think may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make that person sincere, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them what divine assistance, because that's a beautiful intention that a person has.
Jazakallah. Islam, this isn't a Muslim. Right, okay, we won't bother with that one. It says here, why does the Sheikh say yani? What does it mean? I'm not sure.
It's better using yani than using some of my Scouse lingo, you see. So yani is more so like sometimes it's used like,
you know what?
Or I mean. It literally means I mean. That's what yani means.
Salam.
What I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, it was another one just asking about the same question, which has just been answered now. MashaAllah, the Sheikh has a beautiful voice, and I love it when he says, Yani, where is the Sheikh from? He's from Liverpool. So now we know of two people who may support Liverpool, Brother Naf being the other one. The Sheikh is amazing. I love the way he uses examples from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's time and applies it to this day and this age as if nothing has changed. Jazakallah. Very good text message. I appreciate that one. And the next one. Islam, could you please ask the Sheikh this question? If your parents ask you to marry a man who is very weak in Islam and refuse to marry refuse, you marry a revert brother who is practicing, what should you do according to Islam? Jazakallah, sister. That's a very popular one, because when we had the reverts on the show, they were saying that.
As we get into
the marriage one, yeah. Salam, bro. Sheikh Ibrahim is, mashallah, brilliant. Are they a revert Muslim? Have they studied in the Middle East? The eminent scholar, mashallah, has studied in the Middle East. Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Could you tell the Sheikh if any of the coming to the UK? Also, could you tell the Sheikh where could I buy I think it's saying the Habab's show for an Eid gift for my little brother? I'm not familiar with what that means. But if it's one of our shows, then you don't have to buy that. It's actually free on the internet. If you want to give a charity donation, by all means, subhanallah, hand it over to Say the Ray of Hope downstairs. Islam, I think that mosques are a big problem. Most of the so-called imams or teachers inside don't even know how to speak Arabic or recite the Quran properly. When I used to learn in the mosques, I couldn't engage with the Quran because it was a foreign language to me and I had no idea what I was reading. We seriously need to change this. I think that this is the primary reason why the youth don't practice their deen and how it should be. So that's somebody there who's giving a pretty stern opinion here. It says, our parents back home went to mosque to learn Quran and for Islamic education. They went to school. Then when they came here, they built the mosques and automatically assumed the kids would learn deen. The Sheikh is right. We need an institution to teach deen along with teaching the Quran. So another one there. It says, Islam, I think that we can try to use mosques to tackle these problems, but who's going to go to the local imam to talk about drug addiction when everyone knows the imam's probably going to turn around and go to their dad? It wouldn't work. And that's from a sister there, I think Rani, Jazakallah, sister. So Salam, this is a funny one. there's a brother of mine, and Islamic brother, and his name is actually Muhammad Akram, yeah? And he used to work for a certain institution, and one day I came to him, and his name badge said Mortimer Atkinson on it instead. I said, what's all this Mortimer Atkinson business? And he said it fits well and people understand it. The brother's now very practicing and he's gone back to his original name. But he was saying, mashallah, good for the show. I just thought I'd say that because we were talking about identity and people swapping names just to confirm. Thanks for that, Brother Charlie. It says here, Islam, I see people in the mosque. When a scholar comes to the mosque, they kiss his hand. Well, we've talked about that one yesterday, and if you want to pick up on the answer, go to www.therevival.co.uk and you can listen to the answer from Sheikh Salim Riza. The imams need to use English as a first language to get to the point across, not Urdu or Bengali, etc. So thanks very much for that, Brother Saj.
Okie dokie, just before I mention these, I've got a couple of text messages as well. It says, Sheikh, I completely understand what you are saying. Having studied classical Islam myself, it is so hard to get the people of Islam to understand the need for such institutions. Make dua as we are trying to establish one here. Jazakallah.
Tawfiq.
Okay. Now that is one. I've got a couple more, then I'll try to go through some of these. It says, right. My phone's not as...
Just while Saj finishing his games on his mobile, I just want to ask a very practical question, Sheikh, please. I've got brothers out there who are trapped in this cycle of drugs. They're trapped in this cycle of alcohol. What's a practical solution from them? I know you're going to say the environment. And my great brother, Brother Siji, said this as well. Environment, mahal. Get out of the environment. But what can they do? So if they sat there now and astaghfirullah, they're having a spliff, what should they do?
Is that they should realize the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the blessed month of Ramadan. Well, right now we're on the 19th, I believe, inside about the 19th of Ramadan, 19th night. According to Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, one of his opinions, that this is the night of Qadr. According to Abdullah ibn Abbas, he has several opinions, that being one of them. So we should seek the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to intervene first and foremost upon our affair. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ad-du'a silahul mu'min." That dua is the secret weapon of the believer. And often we seek solutions to problems without first and foremost understanding that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who brings forth every solution to every single problem that we have. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the hadith in the Sahih, he said that there's not a single illness, an alcoholism, addiction to anything other than Allah ta'ala is an illness, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also sent down its cure. Okay.
And what is the cure? What should they do?
Well, there are several cures, but the point being, first and foremost, the first cure is turned towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need help. You see, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You alone do we worship, and you alone do we ask for help. So seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the second thing I would make mention of is that people generally, when they're in a city of drugs, one of the capitals of drugs in the whole of Europe is the city of Liverpool. And that people generally, when they're on drugs or on alcohol, it's not limited to the night, is it? You see?
It's limited to, well, they're into it all the time.
Okay, so the point being is in Ramadan, how have you fared in Ramadan? Now you've seen yourself in the daylight hours, inshallah, many people, although they're addicted to drugs or alcohol, they've left it for the daylight hours. And Allah Ta'ala has given us, what is it, a 19-hour, 17-hour fast we've had? So you can see here that Allah Ta'ala has given you the potential, at least for 17, 19 hours, to put it aside. And alcohol especially, alcohol is not like zina, like adultery. Allah Ta'ala, adultery was outlawed one time. Alcohol was in stages. You see, so you have to be weaned off it because of the strong addictive power that alcohol has. So here, fasting is one of the great ways, after turning towards Allah Ta'ala, that we can begin to wean ourselves of any addiction. And I think this is one of the practical things people need to take from Ramadan. So for after Ramadan, you did 29 or 30 days in Ramadan, then what about adding Mondays and Thursdays? You see, every week, Monday and Thursday, alhamdulillah. One of my teachers, that he said that a person approached him from Germany. He's telling me this person, a person approached him from Germany who said that he has a professor in the university who now, after I spoke to him about the religion of Islam, he believes in Islam. but he doesn't like all that I can't drink alcohol business. Okay? So my teacher, who's a person of the law, in fact I can mention his name is Habib Ali al-Jifri. He's the one who was speaking to me. Habib Ali al-Jifri, he told me that now I'm going to get in trouble with the fuqaha. You see, with the scholars of the law. Why? Because I'm going to tell this individual, drink your alcohol. He didn't say like drink your alcohol, legitimize it, but he said don't worry about that right now, become Muslim. And just carry on your life as normal, become Muslim, affirm your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To which he did. But what was important is that Habib Ali al-Jifri never let go of this German professor. He kept on him, because he's trying to bring him to a place where Allah Ta'ala is going to be fully pleased with him.
He's trying to change the environment.
Yeah. But, trying to change the individual.
Right.
But in stages, step by step. And then he said, well look, see on the day of Jummah, just the day of Jummah, try to go without alcohol for the day of Jummah. And he kept it on that 40 days, 70 days, what have you. And then slowly by surely, until the individual realized, because now he's engaging Allah. You see, and there's nothing sweeter with some of the people of spirituality that they will speak about true engagement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a type of intoxication. Yeah, do you understand? They use the exact same word in the Arabic language. Yani sakran. One of the great imams of the tradition I took from, his name is Abu Bakr Sakran. Sakran means to be intoxicated, but they're not intoxicated on this worldly stuff. It's in the love and the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when somebody begins to taste that, then what type of substance on the face of planet Earth can match up to that?
Jazakallah. I'm really sorry for these callers, because what it is, when you ring through, I do see the call, and I can only personally apologise. I don't want to stop the Sheikh in the middle of answering a question because the flow finishes, and then the people who are listening, we didn't quite get that, we didn't pick it up. So I'm sorry, if you ring and you're on hold, you're not being forgotten, you're not being overlooked, because inshallah I'll see it, but the Sajid will see it, and we will flag it up. So to that caller, if you can give us a little bit more of your time and show patience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you. And please, I think they may well have rung back. Assalamu alaikum, you're on Let's Talk. Hello?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
My name's Sayyid, and I was talking about you was talking about, all these mosques being open, like there's 1,400 mosques and all that, yeah?
Yeah.
That have been open, and Sheikh Ibrahim, what he's saying is that why they've been open, and, and what have they done for,
No, he didn't say that.
Pardon?
He didn't say that. He said that. He didn't say why are these open and what have they done for Islam. That's not what the Sheikh said. What he said is name me one institution or one mosque that's purposely started with the intention of tackling head on every single day of the week, every single week of the year, every single year, the issue of drugs as its primary, or alcohol. That's what he was saying.
Yeah. That's what he was saying. Now, the way I see it, Sheikh Ibrahim is 1,000,000% right, brother, because I don't see a mosque that's opened up where they're trying to tackle drugs or they're trying to tackle crime. All they just do is they're just going to do the fiqh, the basics of Islam, just read the namaz, and that's it. Then they get off home, and and there's people who go inside there, inside the mosque, and they're all so many of them are drug dealers, and they don't bother. You know what I mean? To them, it's just. Like I said, it's just a fiqh. It's just a basic.
If I can interject,
not feeling the love, inside the heart. You know what I mean? Like the way we're supposed to be.
I agree with you, brother. The Sheikh's got some words for you.
What's your name? Sorry.
My name's Tayyib Hussain, and I was in your talk in Rochdale today. I was sat on the front row.
May Allah bless you, Tayyib. Tayyib, what I would sort of really request from yourself is to make an intention that you're going to be a person who offers solutions to these issues that are ravaging communities like Oldham and others. And that is that you make the intention to Allah Ta'ala that you want to be one of those who help build such institutions in order to save your community. and to set an example to the communities the length and breadth of the UK. Please try and in your sujood, inshallah ta'ala, after the show is finished, and you pray, inshallah, 2 rak'ah, 4 rak'ah to Allah ta'ala, that in your sujood, then make that intention to Allah ta'ala and ask Allah ta'ala to give you assistance in that regard, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah, brother. Thanks very much for ringing. I'm sorry if you've been held on hold for the calls, but I'm very grateful for you to ring up to the show tonight. Jazakallah.
It was a pleasure to talk to Sheikh Ibrahim and to take some advice of him. That's the biggest and the main thing, and I feel it in my heart.
Jazakallah, brother.
Allah bless you, Tayyib. Allah bless you.
Jazakallah, brother. Okay, that was Brother Tayyib with an excellent point. Jazakallah. If you want to ring in and take part in the show tonight, the telephone number is 0161 626 1444, or you can send us a text 07801 951 501. Brother Sajid, you've got quite a few.
Yeah, I think we had one early on, which was basically that one of the reasons why youngsters basically are involved in alcohol or drug was because of the peer pressure, and in that sense, what is the solution to get out of that or to overcome peer pressure and not turn to drugs and alcohol? Because a lot of reasons why youngsters get involved, because my mates are doing it, come on, have a go, have a try. So how do we get away from that? How do you overcome the peer pressure?
I think you should be clued now, Saj. What my answer is going to be is that we have to change our peers. Al-marru ala din khalilihi. You see,
but that's not very easy to do, Sheikh. You know, if your circle of friends are these people, then you can't just jettison and get rid of them all of a sudden.
There are two types of people. There are people who influence, and there are people who are influenced. And if you know yourself, if you're a person who influences, and you find yourself that generally amongst your friends, you're the one who sets the conversation, you're the one who sets the tone, then that can be good. You just got to sort of, in a sense, set the good tone, and then others will follow you. But very few people are like that. Most of us were influenced by our peers. So therefore, we need to change our peers. It's as simple as that. And religion can't really offer a different type of solution to this. Okay, it's a process you have to go to if your desire is to get better, if you're determined to be somebody who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. And I'm going to speak about myself. Somebody asked me, was I a revert or born inside of Islam? I was born inside of a Muslim family, but I grew up with very, very, maybe notorious or bad friends. And at one point I had to make a decision. Do I stay in this company and go the way of that company, or do I divorce myself from that company in order to aspire to be somebody who is closer to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires for me? It's a decision you have to make. You're going to be forced to make that decision. The Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala and had to make that decision, and that decision with the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala was even divorcing parents, mothers, fathers, cousins, brothers, uncles. The decisions that our first generation made, the sacrifices that they made, which we enjoy the spoils of, and we use and abuse, okay, those spoils of those decisions they make. Why don't we ever consider that those same decisions have to be made inside of our life? You see, so that's pretty simple. You have to change your friends.
Okay, I'm just going to make one more, ask just basically one more question, then we'll move on to the next topic. And I think one of the text message was about that until our imams in the masjids speak English or use it as the first language, then you will never have a solution to the issue of not just drug and alcohol, but all the other social problems. So what would your advice be on that, basically?
So that we understand that there's an interconnection to a lot of these questions, is that those mosques were built for a specific purpose, and when the mosques start speaking English, then the first generation who build them don't understand what's being taught inside of the mosque. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
We need to build institutions that speak to our generation, because those institutions are serving, in a sense, the purpose for which they were built for.
You know, I don't want to share.
Because I give an example. I was in the Liverpool, in the mosque, the main mosque, Ar-Rahma Mosque, and I'm giving a lecture in English. I was teaching a class in English on the Prophet ﷺ, and one of the old Yemeni men stood up and started shouting in the midst of the lecture. What was he shouting about? He's like, don't you understand Arabic and speak Arabic? I said, yes. He says, well, I don't understand what you're saying, and I want to understand what you're saying. Speak in Arabic. You understand?
I understand that, but what I still haven't understood from our conversation today is that the only solution that seems to be coming forward is that the only way we're going to get rid of the social ills of our society is by building the institutions. What I can't understand is the thousands of mosques that are already there. I understand that the elders have actually built the mosques, but what I don't understand is that they've all got children, and it's their children who are most likely also involved in the ills of society as well. So what I'm saying is, ditch actually building new institutions and try to improve and correct and strengthen the mosques that we already have.
And what I'm saying, Sajid, my dear brother Sajid, please try to do that without any fitna, without any accusations, please try to do that. But what you're going to find, it's a long, arduous road to success. Okay? So, not saying abandon that, but success is going to be extremely difficult. Whereas immediate success can be attained through building the very institutions that you desire to see.
Don't you think that sheikhs like yourself, mashallah, well respected up and down the country, should be promoting that and encouraging that rather than saying, you know what, we can't really change the mosques that exist, we need to build new ones? Don't you think that people, you should say, you know what, don't give up hope, but make sure whatever it takes, get the elders on your side and individuals like yourself to be part of those masjids and help the youngsters to get more influence in those masjids and make sure that there are institutions for the community.
No, I disagree absolutely with that. I believe that what this generation needs to actively and seriously promote, that instead of having 1,400 mosques inside of the country, we need 5,000, 10,000 mosques, the majority of them being built by people of this generation. And when it's a sad indictment upon this generation when we haven't built one, just give us 1, 5, 10. We haven't built one out of the 1,400, and then we're going to complain about the nature of the institutions. When we have more intellect, we're better educated than our parents, we have more money, we're more wealthy than our parents, and we haven't exercised that for the sake of Islam. No, I'm sorry. And we have the audacity to speak against our parents and against the institution that they built. I believe it's a crying shame. It's audacity to do that.
Jazakallah, we've got a caller. Assalamu alaikum, you're on Let's Talk. Wa alaikum salam.
Am I on Let's Talk now? Is it live?
It's live.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. I'm just want to say about what Sheikh Ibrahim is saying right now about the institutions. The problem is, I know Brother Sajid keeps going back to the fact that, why can't we change the masjid? I live in Oldham myself. Alhamdulillah, I've studied quite intensively classical Islam. Mainly I've run for dua from the Sheikh because inshallah we're trying to set up an institution like this. And the main thing with the masjid is down to education. The people in the masjids are not educated, and that's a sad fact. Just in the 36 masjids here, when I came back to Oldham from studying in various different places I studied, I found that's initially my intention, to go into the masjids and help sisters into different places. But I find myself struggling simply because the people in the forefront of the masjids, the masjid committees and the imams, they themselves are not educated classically. They're not educated the right Islam or the correct version of Islam from the classical text. And that's wherein lie all our problems, because the education in the masajid is not correct in the first place. So what we need to do, like the Sheikh said, we need to educate ourselves, and because obviously we're the next generation, we can do that because we can learn for ourselves now. So I just want to say that, and also just requested the Sheikh to make dua for our institution here in Oldham, which is really going to reach out to the sisters first and foremost, inshallah, and the children, and inshallah if Allah gives us tawfiq, we will reach out to the brothers as well, inshallah.
Brilliant point, sister. And Sheikh Ibrahim, if you want to just answer that.
I think mashallah that the sister has said everything needs to be said, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant her immense tawfiq inshallah in all of your endeavors, and all those inshallah ta'ala who are inside of your beautiful and good company, inshallah may Allah grant you all tawfiq to be of those who serve ultimately the religion by providing all them with great opportunities to learn the religion as was taught to you and transmitted to you by your teachers.
Just a thing there, sister, if you could. It would be very interesting to know about this journey journey of where you've actually empowered yourself with knowledge, and then you've gone to the community and you've had what basically is closed doors. I'd like to hear about that through the revival. So if you want to just drop us a brief, if you've got the time, I'm sure that Brother Sajid could use that article as to how a sister who's got herself educated to the point where she is classically trained. And we're always saying, aren't we, you know, we can't, there's no sisters there. You go to a doctor, or we want a sister as a doctor. Now he's saying that the sister who wants to work with the sisters in the community, but she's getting nowhere. It'd be interesting to know about that. Send it to the revival if you get a chance.
No problem, brother.
Jazakallah, thanks very much. Jazakallah, thanks to that sister, Brother Sajid.
I've got a text message. So it says, Salam, please give salams from the Fakir to the Sheikh and everyone else. I think the alcohol problem is an accident of a root problem, and that problem is the failure of our masjid to present beautiful Islam. How can someone walk in the masjid and not be overtook by a beautiful culture? And if that is not happening, then we are falling short. Jazakallah, Brother Safraz. Do you want to make a comment on that?
No, I think that was a beautiful comment.
Jazakallah. I just want to, I know from what the sister was saying. Have you got a text message?
I've got quite a few. Should I just go through this?
Go on then, yeah.
Because once you get started, your weapon's loaded, and once you let it loose, then bullets don't stop, so that's the problem. And if there was a drive-by, I'd be massacred earlier on. The problem is, we turn a blind eye on issues that matter most in our society: drugs, alcohol, etc. We have become ignorant in our we have become ignorant, and our elders have become uneducated, as they feel we shame them if we mention it in society. You've got to remember that when the elders, or when your forefathers came over here, they didn't expect that kids would grow up like this. They expected, some of them with respect, didn't even expect to be around here, make our money and go back, and it never happened. So the environment, or the paradigm, has caused this. Islam brothers, thanks for a fantastic show once again. Can you please read this out? A family friend was walking home from work but was running late for namaz, so he decided to but he was refused entry and was told that he couldn't pray there as he is a regular to a different mosque. He is a simple guy and reads namaz 5 times a day. I have understood that all mosques are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's homes. There were any Muslims that can, and everywhere any Muslims can pray. It doesn't matter if you're Bengali or Pakistani, etc. Is it right to refuse somebody to pray? I found this to be really upsetting. I've got a caller there. We'll take the caller, but I think that the simple answer to that is: can you be refused to go to a mosque simply to pray your salah? I don't. The Sheikh's nodding, and because straightforward, no, you can't. Assalamu alaikum, you're on Let's Talk.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I'm gonna go live one?
Live.
Yeah.
What is your question, brother?
Who's this? Who am I speaking to?
Brother Zaid.
Alright.
Sorry? Do you have a question, brother? You're live on air.
Oh, am I live on air?
Yes.
Hello. I've not got a question, but it's just a point that I want to make.
Okay.
About a couple of years ago, I think I watched a documentary on television, and it was all addressing the issues of imams and their level of knowledge and understanding of the English language. Now, what happened is, the point of the kind of documentary was addressing how the imams are not very well connected with their community, and they had this one imam that come up and they were asking the questions with respect to the English language. And what was sad about the whole documentary, the way they were going about talking about it, was that there were some imams that were getting taught by English people how to teach children in classes in mosques today, in today's society. And what was even more worrying was the fact that some of these scholars have been in this country for 30 years, and these are scholars, no disrespect to them, that have learned Islam to the highest level, the Quran and everything else as well. And they haven't been able to grasp English over 30 years, and they were in these classes where they were trying to learn the English language and also how to teach children. I mean, these are scholars who have been learned and taught from some of the best people back from where they came from.
Okay.
And it's just sad to say that. And I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of these imams have tried to, who have not neglected and I mean, one thing he did say was, he didn't feel that there was a need for him to learn the English language because his people that he in his community didn't require him to learn the English language.
Okay, just want to come back to you on that particular point. I saw the documentary as well, and to be honest with you, some parts of it were actually put to a way where they made people who were very well versed in Islam, they made them out to be as though they were some yokels. The point is simply this: I understand the need for imams to speak in English, but let's say that you've got a classical imam who's completely familiar with all aspects of Islam, classically trained, and he's been in the country for 30 years. Well, 30 years ago, the audience that he served may not have been English speaking in the first instance, so yeah, he has come across and he's done his service to it. If he has a mosque now where the youngsters don't go into it, and it's full of people who don't really speak English, then is he doing a disservice? They could argue, well, maybe he is, because nobody's going in there who doesn't speak English. But what we're talking about is the second and third generation Muslims who can speak English, and is there somebody there to serve them? Do you have any other point, brother?
I mean, yeah, well, I can add to it really. I mean, in our local masjid, I mean, our imams and our committee. I mean, to be honest with you, we do a lot of work with youngsters.
Yeah, Jazakallah.
And this is one of the things I just want to pick up is our community. I mean, our committee members. I mean, one of the head of our committee members, every time we speak to him about do something, he always says to us, go for it. Don't stop, just do it. He doesn't ask us twice what it is that we want to do, because he knows our intentions are good for the community. Now, sometimes when we do address certain things, he's a bit hesitant.
Yeah.
Because when he says, actually, do you know what, the community might think is quite a bad thing. Even though we know what we're trying to do is get a positive message across, he's very hesitant because of what the wider community might say or react to it in certain ways.
Okay, I'm going to have to sort of ask permission to leave it, brother, because we've got a lot of calls. Jazakallah, I know the point that you've made. I hope your Ramzan is going to the best of Iman. Keep us in your prayers. Thanks for taking part in the Let's Talk show, and please keep listening to the show. Assalamu alaikum. That was a brother there making some excellent points there, Brother Sajid.
Yeah, I think it was going back to the issue of, where the Imam needs to speak English. I think the Sheikh has mentioned that. We got a lot of text messages from people listening from Nelson and Burnley and other places, all giving a salam to the Sheikh.
Walaikum salam.
I think what we'll do now, Brother Zad, is that I think we've kind of discussed this quite briefly, and we've only got about half an hour, 20 minutes. I think let's move on to... do
you mind if I just clear these text messages and then we can go on to it, yeah? We'll do the caller and then we'll go on. Oops, I'm sorry, I might have dropped that one. It says here. Right. Salam, I just want to say that I feel very privileged and honoured to have the Sheikh in our town. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him great rewards in his life and the next life.
Ameen.
For all his efforts in guiding people to the straight path. Ameen. So please be so grateful for his presence. Likewise. Assalamu alaikum. Brothers, I wanted to ask is there any proof that people aren't allowed to go out with each other, and that this is a big thing with SIGs? What's this big thing with wives and SIGs? Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Well, that's the same. It's a duplicate message. Another one here. It says here, Assalamu alaikum. There are a lot of imams in Oldham, and I think that they don't spec English. I think we should go out and look for because, brother, with respect, yours isn't English either, so, I don't know what and spec means, and I'm sorry if I disrespect you. Islam, great show. Could you tell the Sheikh if he has a teacher, Sheikh Habib Ali or Habib Umar, coming to the UK? Thanks. I'm afraid the Sheikh can only answer that one later on. Sheikh, I've got a I've got a caller, so we'll go for the caller, and then we'll come back and take your text message. Assalamu alaikum, you're on Let's Talk.
Alaikum assalam.
Yes, sister.
Okay. Brother Sadiq mentioned before about how our parents built the masjid, and their kids, do they not want them to be good and stuff like that?
Yep.
But they are our example. They built the masjid, and they go to the masjid. So are we not supposed to have followed that and built our masjid, and are we not supposed to be in the masjids?
That's a very good point, yeah. Jazakallah, sister.
And, I was saying that how, educating your children, stuff like that, is not just about, having it all in Oldham and in front of on your plate. You have to make sacrifices if you want success. And that means, if that means go abroad, if that means go away, boarding, it means it. Because in the end, you're going to come out successful. You're not going to come out, you just want everything on our plate, everything to be in Oldham. But there's a lot of institutes around the country.
Jazakallah, sister.
Brothers and sisters getting educated in the Islamic way, but yeah, we just want everything on our plate.
I understand your point. Thanks very much for ringing the Let's Talk show. Assalamu alaikum. Some good points, some valid points there from the sister, saying that we've got it all in a plate. We don't have to stay in the big pond known as Oldham. We can go out there. Don't have to stay in the pool known as Liverpool. You could go out there.
You know what, Zai, just before you go on to the next very briefly, is that...
It's never brief with you. That's the only problem, Zai.
From all the points that people... Not one person has yet mentioned, that our local masjid, the masjid that we go to or we are part to, what we can do to strengthen that masjid. What we can do to make sure that what our masjid
brother
can
did.
No, I think what everyone is trying to say.
No, I think that brother, if you listen to his call, said that he goes to his mosque, and when he asks one of the committee members, he says, "Yeah, go for it."
That is an excellent point. But majority of the views or majority of the phone calls or the texts we are getting are contrary to that. It's a bit of a concern to me, but let's take this call.
Yeah, I'm glad the call came in. Otherwise, your brief message wouldn't have been brief anymore. Assalamu alaikum. You're on Let's Talk.
Assalamu alaikum. It's Tayyib again.
Yes, brother Tayyib.
Right. I want to talk about... I've been listening to everything, yeah, and there's one thing that I think they're lacking. I think that's inspiration. You see... If you have an inspiration in Islam, yeah, like me, my inspirations are the Sahabas of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, if you take up one of these inspirations and you look at their life stories, yeah, that will open the door to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam opened the door to Allah Ta'ala. It's so easy to get to Allah Ta'ala, yeah, if you just read upon their stories. Because when you read upon their stories, then sacrifice just comes into it, and then you can see how they sacrifice, and then you feel to sacrifice. Once you feel that in your heart, then these mosques, what people are not doing, yeah, then it's like you're inspired to like.
I get your point. Jazakallah, brother. Thanks for taking part again. Assalamu alaikum. I know, brother, you wanted to make a deeper conversation in there. I could feel that, but we are limited for time, and we've got so many things to go through. I want to clear the text message. I think the next one, Saj, that we really should have a look at, please, is marriage. Because yesterday we had so many sisters and brothers out there who feel trapped, and I'm very grateful for the Sheikh. I'll just get this caller, and we'll go through the text message next. Assalamu alaikum, you're on Let's Talk. Hello? Hello? I think we might have cut somebody off there. Assalamu alaikum. The Sheikh is really, really good, mashallah. Ask a question. Does the Sheikh agree, and can we do talks and khutbahs in masjids, one in Urdu and another in English, at the same masjid, doing 2 Jummahs, brother? I know of a masjid that actually has a khutbah in one floor in English. They have this khutbah downstairs with slightly, I think it's 20 minutes later, but it's actually in English. So, don't know whether that's allowed or what their view is here. Islam, we need to ask ourselves, do the youth want to give up the drugs and alcohol? You need people to make a deal, and you can't just blame the imams. Yep, that's true. Some change has to come from yourself. Salam, I think you're wrong when you say there isn't a single institution which doesn't address the wider issues where they speak English, because I can name one in Oldham itself, and right, okay, so you're saying that there is one there. I've got it, Saj, don't worry about it, I'm on it. I'm on its back like a rucksack. I'll give you a text message before Mullah Light next door to me gives me a wobble. Assalamu alaikum, you're on Let's Talk.
Walaikum salam, my brother, how you doing, are you well?
Alhamdulillah, brother.
My name is Mahbub, I'm from Leeds, and alhamdulillah, I'm a student of Sheikh Ibrahim.
Jazakallah.
First of all, I'd like to wish Ramadan Mubarak to all the brothers, particularly the Sheikh, and request for his blessed prayers during this month.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And your question, brother?
Brother, basically it's just a few pointers really. First and foremost, in relation to the existing masjids and institutes that we have, I honestly think I'm part of a management committee for my local masjid in Leeds, and I personally think that most of our masjids are actually ready for a change, because the first generation is fading away. Either may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless their souls, have either passed away or...
I understand your point, yep. You're saying that there's a change coming because people have, time has lapsed, some people have, deceased, and they're the new people in there, and they're part of the committee members, so you're saying that the time could be right.
Well, yeah, but the only concern is there, my dear brother, is that anything that we possess, we won't just hand it down to anybody. Anything that we've worked hard for, we've put a lot of blood and sweat into building and making and providing a facility for the community, we will not just hand it down to anybody. We will only be comfortable when we have a respective, hard-working team that can kind of like prove that they're able to take over these institutes and get involved. Okay, and there's a big confusion for our elders, because even within their own families, their children are growing up and they have different schools of thought. I'm not prejudiced against any school of thought, but they have different schools of thought, and some are not Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and so on and so forth. These are things that are very, very detrimental and very confusing for these elders. So yes, they do want to change, but they don't want to just give it into the hands of the baddies in that sense. They need to make sure that there is somebody responsible who's going to be able to take over these institutes or masjids that have been put together for it.
Jazakallah.
That's just basically my point, really.
Yep, Jazakallah. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to sort of, we haven't got much time. Thanks very much for calling, and salam to everybody, and keep your iman strong in Leeds. Assalamu alaikum there, brother. Whizzle through a few text messages, and then we'll let Brother Sajid loose again. Assalamu alaikum, brothers. I really love your show. I just want to say that Brother Sheikh Ibrahim has a strong point about building institutions where the alims speak English. But I'd also like to say is, why should we put away from our mother tongue? What is mother tongue as well? The mosque I go to for Salah, the Mufti Sahib does give dars after Fajr namaz from the Hadith and relating it to the Holy Quran, and explains after Tarawih about what has been recited. All I want to say to all the brothers out there listening is the Imams not going to come to see you and drag you to the mosque. You're going to have to get up one day and make your own way to the mosque and benefit from them, and make sure it's not too late. That's a very good point. We complain about the mosques, but we don't actually get up and do anything and go there. Salam, guys, with all due respect, saying that Imams from 30 years ago had certain audiences, etc., and that's why they like that, is a lame excuse to me. Saying you're from a certain time is not a valid excuse. One should learn to move on with the times and adopt a new environment. Salam, brothers. I'd stop picking on Brother Saj. Brother Saj is actually the bully here. I'm just very small, skinny, and Brother Sajid rumbles me each time. Salam, could you please ask the Sheikh how to be successful in both the deen and the dunya? What I mean is, I want to study the deen, but I also want to get a good job. How would you do this? I think I know what the Sheikh kind of starts off with, is the environment. But inshallah we'll answer this. Salam. Brothers, the masjid is ruled by the clan, i.e. the committee, and if you want to do something, you have to run it by them hundreds of times, and yet they refuse as if you're doing something wrong. The key to that is if you get onto the committee. Bro, if you're going to read out text, get with the time, learn to read text. Listen, I know how to read text, but when someone says imams can't speak and they say imams can't spec, I can't be agree with Islam. There are a lot of imams, Maulana, in Oldham and in the UK that talk English. I think we should go out and look for them and learn, because we are in need of them. Instead of saying imams should talk English in the masjid. So we're actually on our cars and out of there. Salam, bro, the show is brilliant as usual. Keep it up. Brother Zaid, stop keeping Brother Saj quiet. It's like he's not present at the moment. Speak up, Brother Saj. The Sheikh has a lot of knowledge, inshallah, and a cool accent. It's actually the other way around. Salam, brothers, I don't know whether this relates to today's topic or not. I wanted to know what is permissible Muslims to wear English clothes. We actually mentioned this about what you can wear, about English clothes, Western clothes, whatever you want to call them, on yesterday's show, question and answer with Sheikh Salim Ghiza. And you can, if you've got a computer, I'm pretty sure that you can get hold of one, go on there, go on to the revival.co.uk, and inshallah you can listen to yesterday's show and you will get the answer to that question. Brother Sajid,
yes,
who's been very silent.
I'm always very quiet, mate. What we'll do is, we started off with the issue of drugs and alcohol. I think we moved into the issue of masjid in one. So what we'll do is we'll try to conclude on these points and go on to the issue of marriage. And I think from all the points that people have mentioned, Sheikh, is that a lot of them have emphasised on the issue of that, the mosques want to change, or some are basically saying that the only way you can change is by, the elders actually dying. Now, it's actually good for that the youngsters can get involved. Well, my question to yourself really is that I think, what would be your final points or your final advice, on the issue of mosques and alcohol as a subject? Because there's so many points. If I go through each one of them, it will take a lot of time. I mean, you mentioned about environment, you mentioned about, we need to build new institutions, you mentioned that the mosques that already built were built by the first generation with the intention, so trying to change those mosques to what we want is not kind of possible, okay? And are there any other points that you want to add on before I move on to the issue of marriage?
No, alhamdulillah, I think inshallah khair al-kalam aqalla wa dalla. Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib said the best of speeches is those which are succinct, but they're also profound. So inshallah, I think.
What about this point that someone mentioned about doing two khutbahs in the masjid, where at the same time you can have one that's in English, one that's in Urdu? I mean, someone wanted some clarification on that.
I mean, the school of law, what I would say on that issue, the school of law that I studied, it permits, and you could say encourages, for the actual khutbah to be in the language of the people who are present, okay? Except that the arkan or the actual pillars of the khutbah have to be in the Arabic language, okay? So the pillars of the saying alhamdulillah, salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the dua, etc., they should be in Arabic, but the actual sort of meat of the actual khutbah can be in any language possible. So, I mean, one of the things that I do believe very strongly is that the khutbah should be in the language of the people who are present. And in this country, that English is the dominant language, and our khutbah should be in English language. And I think it's also important to understand, likewise, that our institutions are also there to embrace the actual larger society who don't speak any of the languages from back home. They speak English, and we always have to take that into account. Yeah, I stayed, as an example, I stayed in a community in the 90s, which was in Brooklyn, Bedford-Stuyvesant in Brooklyn. Okay, the same community that for our youngsters that Biggie Smalls came from, Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn. I stayed there for 2 weeks. in a masjid run by one of the great imams of our time. His name is Siraj Wahaj. Okay? And what I witnessed inside of that masjid, that on the Jum'ah, non-Muslims attended the Jum'ah because that was the moral authority inside of a community which was considered in the 90s of the most criminal communities inside the United States of America. And what I would witness at every single Jum'ah, non-Muslims would become Muslim at the khutbah. Now, what I want to ask is, out of our 1,400 mosques, and things are on the verge of change, I doubt it, because ultimately I think a lot of the next generation, some of them are taking over the mosques, and this is Al-Ma'arif are dealing with a lot of mosques up and down the country, are just inheriting the values of the elders of the first generation. I think that's very, very important also. Okay, but what mosque do we know where a non-Muslim would feel comfortable to come into the mosque for some type of moral authority, spiritual enlightenment, and then thereby would consider entering into the beautiful citadel world of Islam?
Jazakallah, brother. I just want to give out some general information. We're not going to take any more telephone calls, so my apologies to the people who are trying to call in. I appreciate that, people say, look, we ring and you don't answer the phone. I know that Brother Ali's always pestering me with this one. Brother Zaid, you don't answer enough calls. Our show is not like a night show where every 2 minutes it finishes and we can take another one and we can talk to little Bobby and Bunty about what they want. Ours is a talk show. When an explanation is being given, we can't chop that in the middle because the call coming on, the priority is to the guest speaker and to the answer and the question, not to the caller. So my apologies for the brothers who've tried to get through and didn't get through. My apologies to the sisters who tried to ring and didn't get through. But inshallah, the show is enlightening, the show has got information and it's available for you to listen to tomorrow. Brother Sajid.
Yes, I think what we'll do is we'll just basically now go on to the final issue of today, because I think we could discuss this all night, but I'm sure we're all short of time, and I think we're going to go to the issue of marriage. Now, every year we have the show of marriage is the question, and I think what we realise is that one of the biggest problems in our community are all related to the issue of marriage, whether it's forced marriage, arranged marriage, love marriage, etc., etc. And we had the show the other day as well on marriage, and it became very clear that basically it's a massive issue, in the Muslim community. So the first question on this issue is that, from your understanding and experience, why do you think that the Muslim community, why is it that the biggest problems that we have are related to marriage? Where is it that we're going wrong? Is it because we're not educating ourselves on what the rights are and responsibilities of husband and wife, or what is an Islamic marriage, or is it more to do with culture, or what is it?
I think there are several issues which relate to the sort of breakdown, in a sense, of marriages from one side, and also the problems that are associated with being able to marry the one who you think is best for you and your life. There are several problems that relate to this issue in general. So I think you'd have to be a bit more specific.
I think what I'm actually trying to say is, a lot of the questions that we get is about forced marriages, where you've got an individual, you've got a guy and a girl, they like each other, they might be boyfriend or girlfriend. What they're saying to the parents is, we like each other, yeah, we want to get married. But the parents have got their own agenda. They want their child to either go back home or get married to one of the nieces or the nephews, etc. So what I'm saying is, how do youngsters overcome this problem? Why is it that our parents are more into tribalism and more into get married to the cousins, and where they don't really care about what the children want?
Well, I think first and foremost that we've got to understand that this is not a religious problem. I think it's a social problem, i.e. it's a problem of immigrants, regardless of whatever religion they are. First generation immigrants are going to feel a lot safer with their children marrying as they would have married had they not immigrated or emigrated from the country of their birth to a new country seeking economic opportunities. So it's not. No, it's not. It's not an issue whether it's Islamic or not right now at this point. What I'm trying to say is, first and foremost, recognize what the problem is. That the problem is due to the fact that we are the sons and daughters of immigrants. That's where the problem initially lies. And it's not unique to Muslims. I guarantee if you looked into the Hindu community, you'd find the same problems. The Sikh community, you'd find the same problems. The communities that came from Lithuania, Poland, Western Africa, Eastern Africa, you're going to find the same problems, all the same problems.
But what is the solution? Because you've got...
The solution is deen.
Yeah.
The solution is deen. Okay, it's deen, it's ultimately going to Allah Ta'ala, and that's the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, tunkah al-mar'a, that a woman is married for 4 reasons, and the Prophet ﷺ mentions 4 different things, li jamaliha, wa li nasabiha, wa li maliha, wa li diniha. So she's going to be married for her what? Beauty. She's going to be married for her family, the family she's from. She's going to be married for her wealth, but she's also married for her deen. Then he says, be there to deen taribat yadak, marry the one for religion or your hands will perish, the Prophet ﷺ said. But what the ulama have said about that hadith is that here we see 4 reasons why people are married that should always be taken into consideration, except that religion should govern over all of the other 3. You understand? So it's not just about religion, because you could have 2 people who are very religious, but they're not kuf, as they say in the law. They're not compatible. So compatibility can come through beauty. Compatibility can come through family. Compatibility can come also through what? Economic status in society. Compatibility. So they must be taken into consideration. Our parents, generally by and large, what are they generally looking at? Well, they're not looking at the beauty of the woman or how handsome the man is, but they're looking more so for economic status or from the family that they come from. They're the 2 primary reasons that they choose. Okay? Our generation, second generation, maybe they're looking for beauty. And what pleases the eye with a generation of lust. Okay? So you love at first sight, beauty. Or some of the new, alhamdulillah, people who return back to religion, they're just looking at deen. Okay, but what's really important is that deen also needs compatibility in order to have a successful marriage. And our parents, the logic of our parents is, well, you have a problem with forced marriage. Look at their logic, forced marriage. Well, you see, I'm only advocating what was advocated to me, and I've been married for 50 years, 60 years. It worked well for me. And what it seems like is that when you marry of your own accord, the marriages break down 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, the marriages break down. Something's wrong there, isn't it? Something's wrong. So again, there's a deeper crisis here. And yes, my dear Zahid, it does go back to environment also. That a lot of the problems you are mentioning, we are inheriting the problems of the larger society, which is also a major factor why our marriages are actually breaking down. Because also our values are breaking down also. Our values towards Allah Ta'ala, but also our values towards our parents. They're in crisis in this generation.
But Sheikh, how do you cope with the loads of text messages that we got yesterday where they're saying, and I can give you a very good example of this, and that is my cousin. She has grown up in an Islamic environment where it isn't a case of them wanting or having to do so, they want to do it. So my uncles are steadfast in their prayers, and when my cousins grew up, they saw that the dad used to come home, and the first thing he did, he used to perform Islam. So they've grown up in that Islamic environment. They don't go to pubs, clubs. They just don't do it. It's not what their social upbringing is. They respect the deen. They also have studied, so they've gone to university, they've got themselves educated, and one's a pharmacist, one's a dentist, but they cannot find themselves in a position where they can get married, because they say, well, how do we find that person? That's where the problem is. So what is the solution to it? Why has Islam put these women in a position where they cannot find suitors? Because they can't meet anybody, because they're saying, well, what do I do? How do I go out and meet somebody? Because meeting somebody and having a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship is not permissible. So in other words, has Islam, in the modern age, set these people up for failure?
No, it definitely is not set up for failure. But a lot of times people set themselves up for failure. Okay, I wouldn't say it's because what is the only way you can meet a boy and a girl is to go to a club, a boy to meet a girl, or a girl to meet a boy is to go to a club? Or is the only way that you can sort of create a successful relationship is through boyfriend-girlfriend? When statistics tell us that boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, even if they lead to marriage, that those marriages break down. So that's statistical. And that is why we even had some of the great imams of the religion, first generation of the Sahaba, the likes of Umar ibn al-Khattab, the likes of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who believed it was illegitimate for a boyfriend-girlfriend to actually get married. So that marriage after a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, they could not even go into a state of union through marriage. Okay? You understand the point? So, there are many ways a girl can meet a boy and a boy can meet a girl.
Yeah, but
halal ways, many ways.
With respect, and we've had 3 scholars on now. Nobody actually answered these out.
And I think what they should...
Well, what I would say is that I'm married, and you see, I didn't have to go to a club to find my wife. My parents never necessarily got involved. They were the ones who arranged my marriage. And I would definitely say that what the arrangement of my marriage was not something that was haram. There was any haram involved in it, even in how the meetings occurred in order to decide upon the issue of marriage.
Let me push you on this then, Sheikh. How is it done?
I think that's exactly what it is. Because what the biggest issue is, Sheikh, is that if you don't want to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you don't want to get involved in the forced marriage, you don't want to go back home, you don't want to get married to your cousin. Now, what is the solution? Because the only alternative that we can see...
The solution is to look at the four issues we spoke about. First and foremost, Islamically, religion.
Okay.
Like, we're not going to advocate marrying anybody. Like, you brought an issue of somebody who was semi-irreligious. Okay, and the parents wanted, that was an issue brought up earlier, semi-irreligious, and the parents wanting the young girl to marry that person. We would not advocate that. That's not going to be advocated by religion, that a woman is married to somebody who's irreligious, especially the woman towards the man when the man's irreligious. It's possible sometimes, the ulama say, for a religious man to marry a quote-unquote semi or irreligious woman. Al-rijal qawwamuna ala nisa, because ordinarily, not always ordinarily, the man exerts a greater influence upon his wife than the wife does upon the husband. That's possible, okay? But what we would say first and foremost is look at the issues. So as for religion, it is pretty easy in the outward sense to ascertain somebody's religious status. Okay? Is it somebody who frequents the masjid? Is it somebody who prays their salah? Is it somebody who, in terms of their financial affairs, they're in accordance to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it? A person of zakah, a person of charity, a person who earns halal and dispenses it or discharges it in a halal manner. Pretty easy. Person of good character, akhlaq, treats his parents well, treats his siblings well. Pretty easy to ascertain. And the books of law will ask a person to investigate this. Go and ask about them, go and ask their friends, etc. What about the beauty? Religion also addresses that now we can arrange halal meetings between quote-unquote boy and girl with others who are present for the person to even ascertain the actual physical beauty of the woman facially, as well as the physical beauty of what the ulama say it's all inside of the hands, that he can actually gaze at her hands to understand, is a woman physically beauty, and what I would say is compatible for him, and is he compatible for her. That can be ascertained. Family, who's the family? Ask about the family. Go and ask who knows the family. Is it a family who attends the masjid? Where's the family from? Etc, etc, etc. Social status. What do they work? What do they do? What school do they go to? Do they have a degree? Are they earning? Are they in employment? Etc. These are investigations which are pretty straightforward for one to do. And I would ask, what is difficult about that? Because it's often that it seems as if people just want to legitimize illegitimacy in terms of how we find a suitable husband or a suitable wife. And as I'm sure you must be clear, it's not going to be legitimate.
Yeah, Sheikh, I have to press you again because I understand that, and these points come in once you find somebody.
Yeah.
Then you can make an investigation. But it's how do you find them in the first place? So what you're saying is about having a halal meeting. How do you set one of those up? Where would you set one of those up? Where would the candidates come from?
Where is the most natural place for you to find a candidate, quote-unquote, who is suitable for you? In the Himalayas?
Probably not, no.
So it would be somebody where the people you're going to share the most thing in common, where are they going to be found?
In your community or work.
Exactly, in your community. When we understand the sixth theory, what's the sixth theory? That every single person on earth has 6 people between them. Do you understand that? Between us and every single person on earth, there's only 6 people. I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. At the furthest extent, it's 6 people. We're not asking for 6 here. We're normally asking for 1. You got a brother, haven't you? You got a sister. No. You got a father. You got a cousin. And you ask them, I'm looking for the husband, is there any people that you know, etc. Meaning we have to, as the wasata, as the intermediaries, have to take on that responsibility. And often one of the problems is we don't. So for instance, as an example, I'm a man, it's like, I don't want anybody to marry my sister, do I? This is where problems lie. I don't want my best friend to be even looking at my sister, do I? This is a major problem, because the brother, as an example, is one of the best people to find a suitable person for his own sister. The sister is one of the best people to find a suitable wife for her brother, etc. Do you understand? Meaning we have to take on our responsibilities as intermediaries to find suitable suitors for those people whom we love dearly, because they're right in our midst ordinarily, the issue of compatibility.
Okay, and then if we go further from that and we find the suitor, but then there's an element there of, shall we say, racism. So I'm a Pakistani boy, and through my brother, he has found a sister through somebody, and they found out that the sister's actually Bengali. Now my parents said to me, look, that's fine, you can marry anyone you want, so long as they're Pakistani and back from the village. Now you got a problem.
Yeah, you have a problem.
So how do we overcome that?
Yeah, that's a lot of tadarru'. What I would say right now, tadarru', you have to do a lot of turning towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لو أنفقت ما في الأرض جميعا ما ألفت بين قلوبهم ولكن الله ألف بين قلوبهم. Allah ta'ala. That were you to spend everything upon earth, you would not bring their hearts together. Allah ta'ala speaking to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who brings their hearts together. Allah ta'ala al-Wadud, through his name al-Wadud, he's the one who places love inside of the hearts of people. What do I mean by this in greater extension here? Ya muqallib al-qulub, in hadith in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, oh, the transformer of hearts. Inna qulub al-ibad bayna isba'iyya rahman yuqallibuha kama yasha, that the hearts of the slaves of Allah Ta'ala are between what? Are between the power and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he alternates it as he pleases, Jalla fil ula. So we need to turn to Allah. It's a major problem. There's no easy answer to this, but the answer lies with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Turn towards Allah ta'ala in the hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will transform the hearts of your parents in order to embrace something which is better for you.
Yeah, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by way of doing what?
Prayer.
A special prayer, or just your normal prayers, or what should be done?
Yani tadarru', the Arabic is like ibtihal, is where you beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, if you really want something from a human being, really wanted it from that person, you would beg them for it. How much more with the one, Jalla fil ula, in his hands lies malakut kulli shay, lies the dominion of everything. بِيَدِهِ الْمُلْكِ, in his hand is the dominion of everything, Jalla fil ula. When last did we beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Our ulama say a sign that you're begging Allah ta'ala is tears are flowing from your eyes. And we could address each and every single one of us in the studio. You want something, when last, first and foremost, did you ask Allah for that which you wanted? Secondly, when last did you beg Allah? And the sign of begging is that you find your eyes streaming over as you're turning towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fuqid. It's not in our community, and that we're going to sit and have these grand discourses about solutions. It's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once we forget that, then Allah forgets us, and all of the problems are just going to be maintained.
Excellent, Sir Brother Sajid.
I think a lot of the things that you were saying, Sheikh, are good. But my only, I won't say it's a criticism, because I can't criticize you, is that...
a reservation.
Yeah, is that sometimes I don't think the practical... Because what you're saying sounds good, but in trying to implement that into action is a bit difficult. It's like when you talk about institution is good, but in this issue is what I find it hard is that a lot of people are saying that, I've just got a text message here saying that Sheikh, good men are hard to find, especially those who are serious about the deen. Does the Shaykh have any advice about how one can go about actually finding one? Now, what my point is that from what you're saying, you make dua, but what are the practical steps that
place yourself in environments where you're going to find where such people may exist?
Like
so madrasas, Islamic learning.
Am I going to find a wife in a madrasa, for example?
No, but the issue, what you will find in a madrasa are women, as an example. I'm not talking about a madrasa in just in its traditional sense, but any Islamic setting where Islamic learning, education, development takes place, that at least now the first issue, you got indication that this woman here is somewhat serious about religion, somewhat serious about change. Great indication. Likewise for our today question about good men are hard to find. Well, the first sign of men who may not necessarily be good, but I have good opinion that they are good, but at least they desire to be good. You will find that when they've taken themselves out of negative environments and put themselves in positive environments, that promotes change and development towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a first step. If you're going to go and try and find a good wife in the midst of a bar or a club, then I'm sure I don't really think you're going to.
Wouldn't it be fantastic? Wouldn't it be amazing if I could go to my local masjid and say, you know what, I'm looking for a wife, I'm actually looking for a husband, etc., etc. You go to the masjid and say, you know what, we can cater for your needs. You know what, we've got an imam, or we've got someone who knows people.
And it's beautiful. And what I would promote here, and maybe you should, inshallah ta'ala, try and get him onto the show, is Sheikh Sa'ad al-Atas inside of Bradford, and he's in an organization called Clements Gate, Sheikh Sa'ad al-Atas, that he has started this type of initiative which you just asked about there, and he has hundreds of people on his books. Sheikh Sa'ad, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate him. So inshallah, I think you should go and sort of maybe invite someone like Sheikh Sa'ad to speak on this issue, and that he's somebody who inshallah is trying to facilitate for people to for people to find the correct suitors on the basis of the deen in and of itself. Okay.
This is one of the technical ones, bro. Ask the Sheikh if you're married to someone in Pakistan, but your family are all happy, but you're not happy, and you want to marry someone else, but your family are all falling out with you, and you want to speak, and they won't speak to you unless you bring the wife back from Pakistan. How do you deal with this? Jazakallah. And it's also giving salam to, I think, Brother Naf. I think Brother Naf isn't in the studio, and that's from Brother Mani. Assalamu alaikum. So somebody's asking a specific question there about that they're already married to somebody in Pakistan, and they're not happy with them, but their whole family is happy over here. But the fact is they are married to that person. And if they don't bring that person to the UK, the family are almost having nothing to do with him.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that there's been a certain element of immaturity that has occurred, because you're in a marriage that you're not happy with. And what my assumption here, and it could be a wrong assumption, is that you decided to go through with the marriage. Okay, meaning the issue that you and also that you've not had long enough with your wife in order to make a really informed and mature decision upon the matter. So if you did not really want to marry her, then you shouldn't have married her. The time to refuse was before the marriage. But now it's not just about you, my dear friend, but it's also about the woman that you've married also, and she's in a marriage also. And what I would say is that, they tell us there's an old adage that if you live long enough with your enemy, you will grow to love them. And what I would say is try and give the marriage a try. I mean, go through it.
So just clear these messages.
But I'd also warn, be strong upon others who feel that it might be the same, that make the decision not to do it before the marriage. And then it's something different. Okay, before the marriage, make the decision, I'm not going to go through with it. I don't think I'm going to be happy in that type of marriage. That's the time to speak up, and that's the time to stick in accordance to your own principles. Because at the end of the day, which I've taken from my teachers, is that you're going to live with the girl, you're going to live with the boy. It's you. It's not your parents or anybody else, but also it's between you and her, or you and him. Okay? Make the decision before the marriage.
Jazakallah, brother. It says here, Islam. Can I just say to the Sheikh that just because a couple aren't divorced doesn't mean they have a successful marriage. Many people are under pressure in emotional blackmail, whereas now the younger generation feel they can divorce easily because there isn't the same pressure that people were under 20 years ago. A big problem with marriage is that many guys in their late 20s or early 30s go back home and marry 16-year-olds. As a result, many sisters in the late 20s are being discarded and left unmarried, all because they wanted to get educated in a career so they could save some money. I think this is a shame. So that's quite a point there. It says here, is it wrong for a Pakistani to marry a Bengali? I think we've answered that. The simple answer to it is that it's not. Islam, brothers, I asked you guys before that there is any proof that people aren't allowed to go out with each other because they weren't even interviewed ages back then. How is it haram? Please give me an answer. Same thing with cigarettes from Sajid. Oh, that's not from you, Saj. This is somebody, and I've had this text a few times, and I don't know whether I have actually answered. This is one where somebody's actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not this one here, but other, they're directly challenging what the sheikhs are saying. They say, look, there's nowhere along the line where it doesn't say that I can't have a girlfriend. And there's nowhere along the line, because I think, so the first element is about boyfriend and girlfriend. They're asking for, where did it say I'm not allowed to have one? The second one, about the cigarettes, etc., is when, I think it was Sheikh Salim Ghiza, and it was Sheikh Salim Ghiza, talked about cigarettes being makruh, and then later on some scholars recently have said due to its adverse harms on the body it could even be considered haram. So the first question about boyfriend and girlfriend, is there anything written, or is there any proof?
I mean, the boyfriend and girlfriend is very clear. You're not going to find two scholars in the history of Islam that will disagree upon the fact that boyfriend, girlfriend, as we understand it, and what do we mean by khalwa, and a man being alone with a woman, okay, being alone.
Boyfriend, girlfriend, yeah.
Yeah. A man and woman having relationships that are based upon lust, even if it doesn't become in what we'd consider sexual relations, that is permissible inside of the religion. The proofs in the Kitab and the Sunnah, too many for us to name. It's something straight from the Quran and from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. As an example, the Prophet ﷺ had the issue of khalwa, speaking about that when a man and a woman is inside of the same room in khalwa means that they're in solitude, they're isolated by themselves, that the third one is the devil is alongside them. Okay, yeah, it's not something that we need to discuss because it's something that is very black and white from the religion. Okay, that issue.
I think on this point, I think we can accept that having a boyfriend and girlfriend is wrong. I think what a lot of people ask is that when you want to actually marry someone and you want to get to know them before you marry them, to what extent does Islam allow you to get to know that? She's a ghair mahram, yeah? But to what extent does Islam allow you to meet her, to greet her, to go up with her,
to find out about
have a cup of coffee? I mean, to what extent does Islam allow you to do that?
And it's as long as the adab is observed of that, and from the most important adab is that you're never alone with that person. So there's always a third person who's present who can ensure that nothing untoward is going to take place. So then ultimately, I'm talking about in the breadth of the law, that ultimately that's something that can be rendered permissible, no doubt about that.
So, for example, if I know a girl that this is the girl that I want to get married to, I spoke to my parents, she spoke to her parents, they said, so we're trying to get to know each other. So we meet up, let's say, in a takeaway or in a restaurant or in a public place over a period of 3 to 6 to 9 months, every 2 or 3 weeks. Is that halal?
In the breadth of the law, so long as the setting is right, there are other people who are present who ensure that the adabs, the law is observed. No doubt it's halal.
That dating then?
What?
What's the difference? Isn't that dating? Isn't that in a sense a halalified version of boyfriend and girlfriend?
No, it's not. It's not a halalified version of boyfriend, girlfriend.
It's two girl mahrams who are meeting, trying to get...
because the cost, the intention, it is very important. The intention is to know a girl, whether that girl is suitable to become your wife. Or the intention here on behalf of the woman is to know a man, to ask enough questions, to know the man, whether that person is suitable enough to become your husband. It's a clear intention.
Well, they show intermixing there, because a lot of people say you can't see her, you can see her, but you can't talk to her, you can't talk to her on the phone, because it could lead on to other things.
Well, the phone is a type of khalwa. It can be a type of khalwa. It can be, okay? Because
with the phone, there's no chaperone. Yeah. You can actually, see what you've got to understand, Sajid, is, let's say that I find myself a suitor, and I think, I really like this girl, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back home, talk to my mum, and then hopefully she can go and find out about this family. And the next stage is that the families are now to the point, and my intention is, I want to know, is this girl suitable for me? If I say, let's meet up in Piccadilly Square and we can have a chit-chat, that's not really acceptable, is it? Although it's a public place and loads of people out there, there is not one person who has an intention to safeguard the honour of that girl. There isn't.
Isn't that what you're saying?
No, he's not saying that.
Isn't that what you're saying? That we can meet, a boy and a girl can meet up in a public place to have a chit-chat in order to get to know. Isn't that what you were saying? Is that allowed?
Sorry, Sheikh, before you answer, are you saying that a boy and a girl can make in a public place? Are you saying a boy and a girl, providing that somebody escorts them? Oh, because that's the difference.
It's what our dear brother Zahid is saying, that there has to be what he calls like a chaperone.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And what's also important is that, I think, to stress the point, that this is not some type of long-term relationship. There is a very, very particular purpose why they are meeting. Okay, to see whether there's an issue of suitability with regards to themselves. It takes 1 meeting, 2 meetings, 3 meetings, 10 meetings, but there's a very, very clear underlying purpose behind each and every single meeting.
So, to clarify, in case anyone's actually misunderstood, is the boy and the girl, they can meet in a public place, but the third person has to be there at all times, yeah?
At all times.
And just on that one, again, because I'm somebody who is a little bit technical with these things, the third person should be the girl side. What if it's because you could get 2 lads meeting a girl?
No, but in the Sharia, that's considered khalwa. Sorry, that's considered impermissible. So the Sharia is taking care of that. 2 men cannot sit alone with 1 woman.
So it has to be the sister.
So it could be 2 women with one. Or no, it could be 2 women with 1 man, or she can bring 2.
A brother.
Yeah, well, she can bring her brother. Yeah, that's the point.
No, yeah, it's quite.
Her brother.
Yeah, it's quite clear, you see, because the message out there, and we get a lot of this is, and I'm one of these who actually has stopped. Because I saw a disgraceful situation only last week in the middle of Ramzan. I was walking past and I saw a brother and a sister there, and they were basically, for want of a better word, getting very, very intimate. And I stopped, so they looked at me, and one of them turned round, and he must have thought I was going to smack him or something. He said, "Bro, are you alright? How's your Ramzan?" The minute he said that, I said, "Well, how's yours? What's going on here?" We're getting to know each other, we're thinking of getting married. I said, "What, you're thinking of getting married? And on your own, both of you?" So I give them a dressing down, because what they were doing there is not within the confines of Islam. So we don't want the message to go out there saying that you can just chill out and go to the cinema together. What we want the message to go out there is that Islam is a living, breathing deen, adaptable and in the 21st century. It isn't some backward religion that's saying you can't get to know somebody. It isn't something that's dreamt up by some Western society and called the East is East. Or you meet your wife when? 20 minutes before the marriage. That's not what Islam is about. So that's the reason why I'm very, very clear, and the reason why I'm absolutely technical about the permissibility of it all, so we don't get the wrong message out there.
I think what we'll do, Sheikh,
and such that it leads to disaster. I think that's important.
The final point that we'll do is on this issue is that I think, do you not feel that the reason why there are so many problems relating to marriage is, as you actually mentioned in each of the other points as well, is the lack of education when it comes to this issue. For example, a lot of people, they don't have an understanding of the rules or the regulations of marriage. Now, how do we solve this problem, in the sense that how do the people who are getting married know the issue, and especially the parents, they are mainly the cause of the problem, whether it's forced marriage, etc., etc. How, or as a community or as our institutions, can cater for this, in the sense of how do we educate our parents in this issue?
Well, I don't sort of agree with the notion that our parents are like the problem here, especially the soul. Well, no, it's not haram. And I think
someone into marriage.
It's not haram. So the fuqaha have spoke about that issue, what they call ijbar, of like what we consider, what we would translate as forced marriages. Now that's something under specific conditions that the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sanctions. That's very important. So we should be careful once again of the television, of the media. We should be really careful there as what's teaching us about our religion. Okay, so I think what's important is that successful marriages don't come from the parents alone, and they don't come from the boy girl alone. But there is successful marriages. It's a communal effort. There are various elements that are important to ensure that marriages become successful. I think we have to got to understand that, because once again, this generation is an extremely selfish generation. Very selfish.
Okay, no, that point you're saying is fine, but what I'm trying to say to you, and I don't know whether you've misunderstood my point or whether I haven't made myself clear, is that, are you saying that because we've heard, every year and even this show, that you've got parents who are saying who are not giving the choice to the children who they should get married to, they've actually found someone that's compatible and said, no, you need to get married to my niece or to my nephew, or you can't marry to her because he's Pakistani. That is forced marriage, and that is going against their will. And surely, Islamically, that's not allowed, and surely the parents are at fault there, and we as a community should address that.
I don't think the parents. I think where does the fault of the parents lie?
They're forcing that child to marry against their will.
No. That fault doesn't lie there, because we can find sanction in that in the Sharia. So, and that's important, because what we need to be
here. How do we find sanction?
The law. We need to understand. Islam. You know what the word means? It means submission. And a lot of times, what we get, and I think we're getting a bit of it here, is that we're getting sort of munaza'a ma'a Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're in open dispute with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when the Lord is clarified, we need to learn just to submit a bit, settle the nafs a bit. Okay? So I think one of the problems with the issue of the parents, what's currently being undertaken as a dominant way in which many people are married inside of Britain, is that a successful system, very successful system, of how people have traditionally been married, it's been supplanted. It's against the problem of immigrants, being supplanted from one environment where it worked because all of the dynamics, was in place, and we placed it in a very different place where the dynamics have shifted, have changed. So no longer does that system completely breed success or bring about successful marriages in this specific context. But it does not mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater.
So what is a forced marriage then?
Say again?
What is a forced marriage then?
What is a forced marriage? A forced marriage in the Sharia is where the father or the grandfather has the right to marry his daughter. And there's conditions there with regards to the nature of the daughter. Without the daughter's permission. That's Sharia. That's the law.
Isn't that what I've been saying in the last 5 minutes? That the father is not giving the right to the child when it comes to marriage, so they are forcing.
And that's what I just said.
But I've been trying to say that is wrong. But you've been trying to say no, they're not.
And that's what I just said.
How they are fault?
I've just said that's right. What is the Sharia ruling? One of the Sharia rulings is that the father or the grandfather has the right given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to marry his daughter without the actual consent of the daughter.
That's the first time I've ever heard that.
And we need to study the law. And that's what I'm trying to say. We've got to be very careful on this issue, because this whole issue against forced marriages, quote unquote forced marriages, is not, the Sharia is not saying that this is the optimal way. It's not saying that.
But don't they ask, when they read the nikah, you ask, the person who's getting married 3 times, do you want to get married to this person? 3 times.
Who do you ask? Do you ask the girl or do you ask her wali?
You ask the girl, do you not? Do you not?
That's what we have to. We ask.
We've had these discussions.
We ask.
With other sheikhs.
What I'm trying to say here, it's really important. What I'm trying to say, there's a breadth on this. Now, what I'm speaking in accordance to the school of law that I have studied, that it's not necessarily the girl you ask. In the school, I studied the school of Imam Muhammad Idris al-Shafi'i, and that the woman needs a wali. She needs a guardian. The guardian is the one who discharges her affair with regards to marriage. If that guardian is a father or grandfather alone, those two people, then he can reserve the right to engage marriage for his daughter, even without the consent, or even without the express permission of his daughter. What I'm trying to say, that's a reality in the law. Submit. It's a reality in the law. Now, what we're saying here is that the Lord is not saying that's optimal. That's what's best. The law doesn't deal necessarily with that which is best. Do you understand? In any specific situation, it deals with the breadth of human society. Do you understand? So, but there's an optimal. And what is the optimal? No doubt the optimal is that the girl herself should be involved in that process, absolutely. No doubt that is the optimal in terms of the Sharia. But don't ignore what is also considered permissible by the law under specific circumstances.
The answer that you've given there is completely contradictory and completely against the answers that we've had from other. Because of the way that you've explained it, and according to the madhab and your understanding of it, that's the clear critical point. That's the Shafi.
That's definitely the Shafi'i viewpoint on it. As for the other schools of law, I'm not somebody who's necessarily versed on this issue on the other schools of law. So just so that the readers, the listeners out there are clarified. This is an answer that's been given by the Sheikh from one school of thought, the Shafi school of thought.
I can remember that Sheikh
Salim Giza,
Sheikh Zahuchi, and also Sheikh Irfan were all Hanafi scholars. Therefore, they've said that whether it's the girl or the guy, they don't need any form of permission from the parents to get married. So basically, if
it is a different school of thought,
and they've said basically no, then they can still go ahead with it. And that's from the Hanafi point of view. That's why when I said to you, I've never heard it before, because I haven't.
The reason why I think because in the Hanafi madhab, and I could be correct, I could be wrong on this, is that the Hanafi madhab, the wali, the guardian, is not necessarily a prerequisite of the marriage.
Exactly.
Okay, whereas the witnesses are. Okay.
So there you've got an example.
That position is between the Hanafis and the Malikis. One of them hold that opinion, where the guardian of the woman is not necessarily prerequisite. In the Shafi'i madhab, the witnesses as well, upright witnesses, as well as the guardian, are essential for a valid marriage. Okay, are essential for the valid marriage. And there are different types of guardian for the girl. But when that guardian is a father or a grandfather, then things which again are brand new to yourself, you see, and can take place.
Okay, Jazakallah. And I think that's where we should leave the show, because there has been a lot of information that's been sent out there, and I'm sure that people will want clarification on one or 2 points. But what I can tell you is that the Sheikh has given answers based on his knowledge, and he's given answers based... Sorry, go on, Sheikh.
What I would also stress is that girl, and you obviously wanted to make that girl, has to be... you said it's after the watershed, is that she has to be a virgin, that girl. That's a precondition for that quote-unquote ability to quote-unquote marry your daughter without her express permission. She has to be a virgin. If she's not a virgin, then it's impermissible for that to occur.
Okay, Jazakallah, thanks for that. Brother Sajid, let me just check, have we got anything here? Islam, alhamdulillah, I'm a practicing brother and looking for a practicing wife to marry. So could all those sisters that are out there looking for a practicing husband, I'm here. Sorry, but it's hard to find someone, so I'll take the chance. I understand your frustration, brother. Contact the revival, and inshallah, we are trying to get something together. We've now been given a reference point for a sheikh in Bradford, and we will try and move things a little bit forward. Hi, I've just tuned in. What is the topic for today, and when are you finishing? Put the kettle back on, brother, and start your cocoa and get ready for iftari, because the topic for today, is...
Can I just ask a question, please?
Of course.
Sajid, you have a daughter?
I don't.
Hypothetically, may Allah bless you with a beautiful daughter, inshallah ta'ala, beautiful inwardly and outwardly. You have a daughter, and she comes home one day, she's been what? You see, having maybe like halal meetings with a specific individual, and now she wants to marry that individual.
Right.
Yeah. What's your take on the issue?
Yeah, what my take is that if, the person she wants to get married to is Islamic and is compatible, I have no problem with that.
None whatsoever.
Because it doesn't matter about race, doesn't matter about, as long as she's happy, as long as he is Islamic and he's not alcoholic, he's not a druggie, he hasn't got any, and if I know the person that is a good person, they're both happy with it, they're both compatible, why not?
Okay. Zahid, what do you say on that issue?
Well, if I'm listening to you correctly, then I would have no problem with saying what she says, because if we're saying that they have met Islamically, and everything has happened, she's met somebody, that would mean also that I'm in communication with that, because I wouldn't have sanctioned her going meeting somebody. So in other words, I've been part of the process. Ultimately, if her intention was to get married, I wouldn't have been the right parent in the first place, who all of a sudden found out she was getting married. From that basis alone, if she found somebody and that person that she found had the 4 qualities that we've talked about today.
The situation is that you've not been involved. She went and got another halal chaperone, and she does all of her own back, and she comes home one day to Baba Zahid, and she says that I want to get married to Fulan ibn Fulan because I think he's the right person for me.
I would say at that point, okay, let me find out myself, because I would then say it is my duty to double check what you're doing. What I wouldn't do is to say, that's brilliant, let's go and get them married. I wouldn't say that, because I would be abdicating my responsibility as a parent.
Excellent.
And what a lot of parents do is when...
Did you fail to do, Sajid? With due respect, you failed to what? To demonstrate your responsibility.
Due diligence.
Yeah, due diligence in that situation. You failed to do that.
You were ready with the Matai.
And yeah, there's a problem there. My advice to you, there's a problem there.
I mean, from the question, the way you put the question, that's how I felt the answer should be.
No point backtracking now. If you're the weakest link, and for that, goodbye.
What we have to be clear is, and this was going to be my next point, was that what a lot of parents do is the question you put forward. If I wasn't part of the process, and she says that, I found someone and basically I want to get married to him. Now a lot of parents will get angry, they'll get violent, how dare you, astaghfirullah, right, we're going to find someone, let's go back to Pakistan and let's find someone, okay? Now that's how a lot of people do react. Now obviously that's wrong, that's not what I would do. Now if the answer, as what Brother Zaid has mentioned, is that you get to know the person, but the way I've answered your question, I was part of the process. If I wasn't part of the process, then obviously you get to know the person you're going to get married to. You're not blindly give your daughter to anyone, do you? That's what I mentioned. If I feel that the person...
But she insists that this person's right for me.
No, if she insists, then obviously I would,
You're going to blindly give your daughter over.
You get to know the person, obviously.
And then you disagree?
If you think that person is not Islamic, that person is not compatible, he's not, then you refuse it. Now, if you are happy that your daughter marries someone who you think is Islamic, is good, is compatible for her, you give the blessings.
I can see where this is going to go, Sarge, and you could end up being in entrapment by the good Sheikh, because I'm thinking a couple of stages ahead of you are, and where he's taking you, you're actually a willing passenger, and very soon you're going to be caught in this net, because this is going to come back to your earlier question about the parents saying yes or no.
And you're actually forcing your daughter not to?
I'm not forcing anyone.
No,
if you carry on down this line,
you're not, because what you're doing is that the responsibility of the
because when we speak about force here, force is when the will of one blocks out the will of another. Dominated is dominated over another person's will. So now the parent, what you've done in that situation, she is absolutely sure this man's right for me. You've got to know him. You said he ain't, and now you're not going to sanction it. And if you're not going to sanction it, she's not getting married. So you're forced heir. into a situation where she's not...
Of course, it all depends how you deal with that situation, how you tackle it. You know, it's called hikmah, wisdom, of how you make sure that your daughter... you're not saying, no, you're not mine because he's bad. You know, you try to come to an agreement. If you still believe, even after I give you my advice, that you still believe that he is right, he's compatible, then you can still let her go ahead and get married.
What I would say, inshallah, and inshallah, obviously, I think we're drawing to a close, is that we ask Allah Ta'ala to give us greater basira, insight with regards to the religion, and we understand that this is a religion of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. As our dear brother Zahid said, it's not a religion that came from men, it's a religion that came from beyond the seven heavens and the grand throne of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. We understand that's where the religion came from, and we understand that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has given us examples, and those examples as exemplars, they were sent in order for us to follow them. So we can find a perfect example in the Prophet ﷺ and how he himself approached the religion of marriage, and then we can find that the way the Prophet ﷺ approached the issue of marriage was corroborated by all of his followers, Ra'iyatul Ula, the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala an. And we're not going to find a single example of a Sahaba getting to know a woman in order to go to engage the great and beautiful and central institution of what we call marriage. And I think that's really important, because what has happened is that we've supplanted the guidance of religion with that which comes from the self, and ultimately that which comes from the self ultimately leads to destruction and a breakdown. I think we have to really sort of reassess the issue.
Jazakallah. And I think there is where we're going to leave it. We've already encroached extra time from the knowledgeable Sheikh, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him for his efforts, and in this world, and inshallah in the hereafter, make his journey easier and give him health, inshallah. I just want to fire off with a couple of messages. Islam, I can understand where Brother Saji is coming from. As long as the parents sit down with the child and explain lovingly, there shouldn't be a problem. Okay, fair enough, we're there. Another one here from Brother Askar. Islam, bro, you're too funny. Love you, Brother Askar. Give Sheikh my utmost salam. That's from Brother Askar there. Right, that's the end of that one. Okay, you've been listening to Let's Talk. We are not in tomorrow, are we, Brother Sajid? We're off Monday, and we're off on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, inshallah, we will be back, and you can tune in. I've got quite a lot of things to come through with you on Wednesday night, when inshallah we will be back and we will be discussing things more. I want to from my heart again want to expressly thank, gratitude and the deepest of shukr to Sheikh Ibrahim Osiefa, who not only has come all the way from Liverpool to be with us tonight, but has shared his wisdom and knowledge. And many people have benefited from that. What I want you to also do is to listen to the show tomorrow. You can listen to it on the revival.co.uk. Do a little bit of catch up. Have a listen to some of the questions and have a listen to the answers, because they affect you all. And until that point, keep your iman strong. Remember, Ramzan is drawing to an ear. It's going to be very, very soon before you think, what happened to Ramzan? And that's when we don't know whether we're going to be here next year. So make the most of your Ramzan. Try to do good things. And if you've got something bad to say, something bad to do, don't do it. Keep it to yourself. That's you're going that way. I think the important thing from this show is we've passed across the knowledge. You've got 2 days to do a bit of listening to the Revival website, and you can catch up. My thanks once again to the Sheikh for coming in and sharing his knowledge with us. Thanks also to Brother Sajid, who actually was on very, very good behaviour, and I hope that you understood his sort of line of actions, etc. Those brothers and sisters, those mothers and those fathers out there who are looking for suitable people to get married, their children to, the family, etc., send us a message at therevival.co.uk, and inshallah we will help as much as we can. And until Wednesday, keep us in your du'as, keep us in your prayers, keep your iman strong, and inshallah we'll see you on Wednesday night. Assalamu alaikum.